got a lot of questions.
Oh boy, I mean, if you don't, I don't want to do spoilers because I do know way more than just these episodes.
I am aware. That's why I have to. I will ask them, but you don't have to answer them. I guess is
okay. I'll just speculate with you and pretend I don't know. Because I like to do that with people.
I mean, I suppose if that's how you want to do this.
This
I don't
is
know.
actually
I don't know
very fitting as well, considering there's a new Doctor Who Christmas special coming out.
Yeah.
I can't, why does this keep happening with this season?
No, because Doctor Who makes sense to be this is coming out on the 26th, which you said it should because that's Boxing Day, and Doctor Who is very Christmas oriented.
It feels like it. I don't know why, but yeah. There's always
they're
bringing back
some sort of special.
They stopped for a while, and it was very disappointing, and now they're starting them back up this year. I don't know how much I will actually know, but I will put in my 2 cents.
Well, I just have to remember the names of the people.
The Queen's favorite doctor is Christopher Eccleston. So
who is?
Christopher Eccleston was the Queen's favorite doctor.
Oh, well, hello.
Which is this one.
I do like that young man.
It's like fun fact. I don't know why I know these things, but I do. So random.
Now all I picture is all right. I don't remember what it is. I think it's that episode of The Simpsons where the Queen is watching them on television. Do you remember this? I think it's Behind the Laughter, where they show the Queen eating a TV dinner and watching The Simpsons. Now I picture her eating a TV dinner and watching Doctor Who on a Saturday
She wants to feel
night.
very quaint.
Like, oh, how wonderful.
Well, because it's the funnier thing is that she does her talks on Christmas, or she did her talks on Christmas like morning, and then after her talk, and then the Doctor Who episode would come on. So it was like, yep.
Yeah. This represents everything about the British Doctor Who. Let us begin. Hello, everyone. I am Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is Shelf Life, a podcast hosted by a brother and sister team that... I had something. I can't remember what it was.
Oh no! Do you want to, sit for a second? Think about it?
A brother and sister team that always show their invitation for the end of the world parties, but also... Thank you. But also... That was fucking stupid. We'll get into that. But also...
It was air! They like
weird.
carbon
Stop
dioxide.
blowing on me. But also...
She found it sexual, and you know she did.
Yeah, she
Anyways.
did. She got wood.
God damn it.
But also go through pop culture one at a time, through everything, to determine whether or not whatever we're talking about that day belongs on your shelf. Rachel, it's a big day for you. This is one of the ones that you've been clamoring to do. It's one of Rachel's things. I don't know what that means. Rachel's.
No, I
can't think of an alliterative term.
Rachel's realm of things.
This is definitely a Rachel realm. Rachel, what is up for contention to the shelf? What are we starting? Because we're not doing everything today, but what are we starting with to bring to the attention for contention to the shelf today?
We are doing the first 2 episodes of Series 1, Doctor Who. Now, it's not
Doctor Who? Thank you. I'm sorry, continue.
It's not the original. It's the new age version.
No, because as much as we try to do...
Doctor number 9. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. Yes, because...
Doctor number 9.
I'm not going to watch 1960s British television. Because
I have watched some
I don't know if I could. I really don't know if I could.
Yeah, you're not a big fan. I like it.
I'm sure it's good fodder for us, but we're gonna start with the modern Doctor Who.
That's fair.
Okay, because Rachel, as always, I will ask you: to begin and let us know what exactly Doctor Who is about and what is your connection to the Doctor.
Okay. So Doctor Who follows
Doctor Who?
every time. You're gonna do this every time.
It doesn't. Nobody ever says it in the show.
They do.
I was waiting for
They
Rose
say it
to
every
be like,
time.
Doctor Who, but she never
did
does.
say that. They always say that every time.
I don't remember.
Doctor Who, what
saying
was your name? I didn't catch it. Like, that's what they usually do.
No, I think she says Doctor What because I think that everyone was in. It's like waiting 23
No,
movies
usually
to say Avengers
they'll do that
Assemble.
later. They do that later, where like people will say something like that. Or there's actually an episode, and spoiler alert, there's an episode where the Doctor meets somebody and they don't ask, and then he's just like disappointed they didn't ask. Because they always ask.
Is that Eccleston who does that, or is that a Tennant? Because
I think that's
it
later.
could be either. Okay.
I think that's like later. I think it's either Tennant or it's Matt Smith or something.
Doesn't I feel like
It actually might be
now-
even later than that. So, Doctor Who follows an alien who is a Time Lord on his adventures through space and time, mostly in England, modern day London and England. And
No,
a lot of
Kevin
different
gets to
things
make fun of
happen.
the British quite a bit
He
today.
This is very true. And the Doctor tends to try to keep order in the world where things are supposed to line up properly.
That's my first question for you.
Yep. That's fine.
Okay. So
He meddles, but he doesn't meddle always.
So I guess before I get into it, what's your background with Doctor Who?
Okay, so I think as a kid I had seen a couple episodes, like the old ones as a kid, but I don't really like
the scarf
remember
wearing
it
Doctor.
as like the long scarf one, number 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
I'm pretty
that's
sure
what I picture in my head as the Doctor.
There's the one that wears celery on his like lapel. There's
Yeah.
the guy with the long scarf. They all have
Yep.
very
They had
like
to
their costumes, like
Yeah.
tend to really display who they are. But I think it was the 4th one that I seen a couple episodes when I was a kid. But in college is when I watched all of these with friends. And it was very fun. It was very exciting. I really liked the jokes. It was really fun to like take part as like a group to watch them together. That's where I watched them for the first time. And then I got really into it, and then here we are.
So you did not watch these when they were new. You watched them way later.
The first ones, yes. I think it was a couple seasons in before I was at like the same time, and I was like waiting for them to come out, and it was really exciting. I don't know if it was
Gotcha.
even seasons in. What year was that when this one came out?
2005.
No, so yeah, it was a few years before I was watching them
if you
in
did,
tandem.
Yeah, it would have been a while then. I mean, that's how a lot of things happen. Like, I didn't watch Game of Thrones until the 4th season, or end of the 4th season even. Like, I caught up to it. Like, that's
Right.
That's how a lot of this happens. Because, like, it's hard to be somebody that's going to take a chance on something right away when you have no idea what it is, especially something like this.
But I'm a big sci-fi person. So.
You are a big... Yes, Rachel is
I like
definitely
fantasy,
the
sci-fi.
Yes. Rachel is definitely the sci-fi expert. She likes the sci-fi stuff. She's big into that kind of thing. I am fine with sci-fi and fantasy, but it needs to have certain tones for me. These were the first 2 episodes of Doctor Who that I ever watched.
Which is a little disappointing. I probably should have made you watch something later.
But yes, you gotta go
Honestly,
in the order of the story.
Oh, I know. I agree. But I have heard this from people. Even the person that like recommended this to me was like, you just got to get through this first couple episodes.
Yeah, Yep. Well, we'll talk about it.
They have no money.
Yes, very clearly have no money.
Yes.
But I think they have more money than they did in the 60s.
Oh yeah,
through 80s,
they did. They did.
Which is sad. So Rachel, yes, these were the first 2 episodes of Doctor Who that I watched. Here's question number 1. I should have written all these questions out, but I do have this question. So you don't know what the TVA is because you haven't watched Loki yet. I can't tell if the Time Lords have a similar thing where in these 2 episodes, at the very least here, there's something going on in current timeline in the first episode. There's something going on in the future in the second episode. It seems, especially in the second episode, that something happened out of place. Like he goes, oh, that shouldn't have happened, or whatever.
Exactly.
So he knows what's going to happen in time.
There are fixed moments in time. Yes.
Okay. So,
and he explains this in later ones,
but how does it get off track then?
Something like there's usually just some type of anomaly that occurs. So even like aliens doing something that could just like make it like something weird just happens.
Okay, so not everything is because there's someone else meddling with time on the other end.
Not
always. Okay.
No.
Okay.
There just might be something that's like a fixed thing that's supposed to happen, but then there's some weird anomaly that happens within the timeline that occurs.
Gotcha. Okay. See, I have to compare because we're doing this with volume 3 here. So we've already been in one wormhole, and we've already been in space. We've already traveled in time in volume 3. We're just doing it again. So what could happen here is that Matthew McConaughey is going to meet up with Christopher Eccleston.
No.
So.
Oh God, that could be real interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my daughter. I ended up with this freaking alien. Does nothing but freaking smile all the time. It's annoying as hell. Tars! We get rid of this goddamn thing. He's got a pen or something with him. I can't understand that. It took me a while. All right, the first time I watched these twice because I had to, because I needed to watch it once to write down my thoughts, and then again to do the walkthrough.
Sure.
And I got it on the second time of it being called a sonic screwdriver, and I was like,
yes,
"Oh, it's a
that's
screwdriver."
His sonic screwdriver.
I thought it was a pen.
Oh, like a probe or a pen. Yeah, it's
I just thought it was just like a laser pen, and it was like, this is ridiculous. And I think it is ridiculous. I have a feeling that's a holdover from the old Doctor Who, because it's like, this is cheap. Just hold this light up to the fucking wall and pretend like it does something.
I think it might be. But it comes in handy sometimes. It's like his little tool.
Yeah.
It does stuff. It does sciencey things.
He does nothing but use this in these episodes. It's like a universal fucking thing in these.
Yeah, it's a universal screwdriver.
Sonic screwdriver. A universal screwdriver is something that you can get at Home Depot on Black Friday for 40% off.
It's probably very true.
Can I also get a new sonic screwdriver there? You Yanks with all your Black Friday shopping. So Rachel,
there's gonna be so much of that.
We got their download already. you eat. It's coming out on Boxing Day. You eat your fish and chips, and drink your tea, and you listen to Shelf Life.
They do the little pomper.
I know we have British Huh?
I know we do too. Yeah.
We have British listeners. I know that.
Yeah.
So, and I know they're not offended by me doing my terrible version of a British accent, because I'm doing a terrible version of an American accent now.
Exactly.
So anyway, Rachel, because I am a professional podcaster, I did my research here on how they came up with Doctor Who.
I'm excited.
Or how Doctor Who came back. So feel free to interject, because I'm gonna just kind of go through this very lightly. I don't know the ins and outs necessarily. In the 1980s, 87 or 89, I can't remember which year. Somebody's going to correct me and be pissed off. I think it's 87. Rachel, you're editing this.
You want to go split the difference?
Put me saying whatever the right number is.
Just say different dates and I'll have to choose
1987, 1989. So anyway, there's this guy named Michael Grade that was in charge of one of the BBC channels. And he did not like Doctor Who. I don't know why he's Alfred Hitchcock, but I don't like it. So his problem with it, and I've tried to find what his problem with it was, because it wasn't unreasonable. Like I was like, oh, so like Doctor Who fans must think that this guy's like a total villain, and I'm sure that they do. It was 86, by the way. So in 86, so
cut, slice, move.
Here was his take on Doctor Who, or like what he thought.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible, awful. I thought it was so outdated. It was just a little show for a few pointy-head Doctor Who fans. It was also very violent and had lost its magic. I have a feeling that he's not that far off base.
Oh, well, he's probably not. I doubt it. Like there was a movie that came out that like broke it, and that's kind of why they said it ended it. There's like a doctor that people are going, he's not canon. He's not actually the doctor. Blah blah blah. All of these things. Yes. Absolutely.
In 1986, they put it on the shelf. They put it on hiatus. There's a lot of controversy about that because, of course, it had been on the air for 24 years or whatever at that point, and was considered like this classic British television show that everybody had watched growing up in the 60s and 70s. But now it was relegated to nerds on the internet in the same way that like Star Trek, I feel like is the American version of Doctor Who, where it started in the 60s. It's very sci-fi. It's very nerd-centric. It's very like sci-fi oriented. And it never really goes away. They just keep finding new ways of keeping it relevant,
sure,
or hoping to keep it relevant, and to various and varying degrees of success. But in the 80s, BBC said, we're shutting it down. There were several attempts to bring this thing back over the years. The movie that you said in question is one of them, where they pull in or out of the canon that doctor, sometimes just depending on who's considering it.
I want to say they called him the War Doctor or something like that too.
I think they retconned it to that.
that was the retcon.
Is what I read. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was in the 90s and they did this movie, and then I think they retconned him in some future special or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always attempts to try to make a Doctor Who. They ended up giving the rights, or like somebody within BBC who was trying to get it started back up gave the rights to Universal in the States, like as a United States production, not as a United States production, but as like a distribution that Universal would help do it. They ended up actually having a pilot on Fox in the 90s for Doctor Who, but it didn't get great ratings. Okay. Probably because outside of college campuses or people that had the ability to kind of download stuff on the internet in the 90s or 80s, you probably weren't aware of Doctor Who. And I cannot imagine, like, now it's ubiquitous. It's very odd that Doctor Who, now granted that's because I'm your brother, but I feel like the TARDIS is, like, the TARDIS... You
can pick it out. You know what it is.
You know what it is.
That's blue police box right there.
Yeah.
Which is not a thing in these States, but the blue police box is very known now.
Yeah, it's a very iconic thing where I think if you went down the street, half of the people at least would kind of be able to know. Yeah, there it is. Rachel's got them all over the place. She's wearing her Doctor Who gear and everything.
I had to.
I don't know if it's on the same level as like Godzilla and Hulk if the TARDIS knocks on your door, but it is kind of in that same vein.
I would think okay. Well, we'll have to figure that out, I guess, later. But I would assume that if the TARDIS makes its whirring noise and lands on
if
your
the Doctor knocks on your, I don't know who he is. He could look anything.
Let him in.
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. Oh, is that your car? Oh, that's. Hey, honey, the Doctor's here. No, not that one. No. Who? Yeah, who? Just give me a minute. You just stay right there. That's what I think. But you being my sister probably conflates it a little bit. But
probably
back in the 90s, it probably just wasn't as well known. It didn't do well, and then Universal and Fox were like, yeah, we're not going to do anything with it. So it didn't get picked up as a show in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So then it goes back on the shelf. Not pun unintended. So people continue to try to get it. The biggest thing that holds this up is the fact that the rights are floating between different channels within BBC. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know this, there's like a drama channel, there's Wales BBC, there's News BBC, there's all these different BBC subs of British broadcasting.
Sure.
So,
okay.
Which is different than how it works in the States, where it's just corporatized. We have like 2 public channels and C-SPAN, and that's it. The rest of it is all a company, versus kind of how British broadcasting works, which I'm sure is different now than it was back then too. But regardless. Well, only thing that was happening were these webcasts of Doctor Who in the early 2000s then. And I don't know if fans consider those canon or not at this point either. It's just like they were making animated web series of Doctor Who.
Sure.
And that was pretty much it.
Yeah. I actually have not seen these before. I haven't watched those. There's books, there's the comic, there's the web series, there's a lot. There's a lot now.
Yeah. I think it's everything that can happen will happen. Is there a video game? Is there a Doctor Who video game?
I actually don't know. I feel like there has to be. If there's not, I find that kind of odd.
There easily could be. Where you could make your own companion to travel with the Doctor. Like, you are the companion. That seems like a winning combination.
Okay, so this is a newer one. Because it shows Dr. 12 and 13?
The old man? Or past the old man?
No, so it's the woman and... I see David Tennant on this. It's The Edge of Reality and Lonely Assassin, so that's interesting. Yeah, so I mean that's what it's saying. It's a PS4 game, but it looks like kind of silly.
Which is like, but the graphics look pretty bad. So
it's the only one I feel like I've seen, but I'm surprised there's not like this one looks like a side scroller. So I mean there might be more, and I just haven't actually seen them out there.
Interesting, because I mean that is a good idea to have a video game of Doctor Who.
Oh, it looks like there's a Lego one too. So
that
maybe there is. Maybe there are, and I just have not played them.
Yeah.
Which is weird, but maybe that's something I'll have to pick up one of these times.
I'll say this now. Rachel has, if anyone ever sees us at a convention, we'll have some sort of shelf life marking because of the fact that we'll be trying to get people to sign up to subscribe. Rachel carries around a TARDIS backpack, which half the time I end up carrying because I'm the one putting comic books in it or whatever.
It gets heavy.
So then I'll be like, I'll carry it around. It's a good backpack. It's sturdy. It doesn't hurt your back or anything. More often than not, at least a half dozen people, when I'm wearing the fucking thing, will come up and be like, "Oh, great backpack." Granted, it's at a convention, but it is interesting. It's a good, very shaped as the TARDIS kind of backpack.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually like a 3D like rectangle and everything. Yeah. And if the people who come up to Kevin luckily don't ask him anything or like say something that's Doctor Who related that he gets confused, but I'll end up getting like those like comments.
Where I punch the guy in the face because I'm like, "Fuck you, buddy."
Why would you say that to me?
There's all these people trying to come up with Doctor Who, but the BBC doesn't want anything to do with it at this point in time, especially through the 90s and the early 2000s. But at the point where like the early 2000s start to happen, it's shifted, where a lot of the old guard that was at BBC is now retired or out or just not in charge of the particular channels that something like this would be on. And a lot of the newer people are people that are nostalgic for Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. And they grew up watching Doctor Who. So there's interest in bringing it back, which is crazy to think about because nowadays you bring back everything to the point where there's like a fucking Mean Girls musical movie.
Right.
Anyway, during the late 1990s, Russell Davies was trying to convince BBC to bring back Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. Rachel's nodding her head because apparently he must be well-known.
I actually know the name.
He grew up watching the thing. And he made Queer as Folk. That was like his big show. So he was a very well-known to-do kind of guy in British television. And he was asking people to bring back Doctor Who. What ended up kind of happening was he ended up bringing it up, or someone brought it up to this other executive that was Lorraine Heggessy and Julie Gardner. So Julie Gardner and him were trying to get it off the ground. Early 2000s, I don't remember exactly the time period, like how this all works, but there was some sort of like Christmas party or just some sort of like party, some sort of get together where Jane Tranter was at this party and she had heard from someone else there that Russell Davies wanted to talk to her about Doctor Who. And she had been a fan of Doctor Who and I think was trying to figure out how they could make it back into a production again. So she like ran over and said she wanted to do it. The problem was that she was pregnant with twins and about to go on maternity leave. So
Yeah.
even though they discussed it at this party, then
Sure.
nothing developed
happened.
because like she couldn't then go take it to like the next step. So it got delayed again. But eventually they were able to do it, and Davies was able to kind of come in and say this is what his pitch was for the Doctor, or for bringing back Doctor Who, because he said if we're gonna do this, we have to modernize it for
Right.
the 2000s. We can't have it be this outdated show, and, which was the problem to begin with of why it went on hiatus, right? His ideas were you're going to focus more on humanity and Earth, and you're going to have more of a connection to the characters and make it more human, like more
Like
emotional
personable,
or something.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're going to make it a 45-minute episode instead of a 22-minute episode, because nowadays in the early 2000s, if you were going to do a drama, you want it to be an hour long because that's how people thought you were serious. It
And
still
the
is.
pacing, the pacing is better too. Typically, I would
can
think
be.
if you
I
shoving it
argue
into 22
sometimes-
minutes versus 45. I mean, come on.
Well, these kind of stories, yeah, I think so. Sometimes I think that stories are better at a 22-minute pace, but that's just me. It just depends. And then the other thing was he wanted to get rid of some of he called it like the extras.
Like
He wanted to
fluff.
get rid of the Time Lords. He wanted to get rid of the Time Lords. He wanted to get rid of Gallifrey.
Gallifrey.
There you go. He wanted to get rid of some of the audaciousness.
It's the planet that the Time Lords live on.
I figured that out, yeah. And wanted to kind of ground some of the style. So, like we were talking about earlier, where it was like all of these doctors have like a very pronounced, flamboyant kind of style. Eccleston's doctor, what number is he, Rachel?
Number 9.
9? Okay.
Yeah.
He does not. He's wearing a leather jacket and jeans or pants. Like, it is just kind of like, yes, he's in the 2000s. Because I didn't even know that this guy was a doctor. I've only ever thought of
Kevin
Tennant
was
and Matt
like,
Smith.
so we're starting with the Tennant line. And like, we actually have to start with the 9th Doctor because Christopher Eccleston is the one who started off the new series.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know who the hell that is.
Yes.
So it's in production, it's all ready to go, and then Michael Grade becomes commissioner of of one of the BBC channels, or like a part of the board of the BBC, and he sees that Doctor Who's going back into production, and he's like, "No, I got rid of this thing 20 years ago.
We're not doing this again."
So he asks if they can get rid of it again, and I guess the production people were all like, well, no, we already kind of spent a lot of money on it, and it's already way into production, and it's already been announced. And if we go back on it now, people are going to be kind of pissed, and it's going to look bad for BBC. So we said, fine, do it, and then when it sucks, we'll just cancel it. So they were that close from being cut
Right.
off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, think about, I don't know, Warner Discovery today. If that same question would have come from an exec at Warner Discovery, they would have said, okay, we'll cut it. And that would have been the end of it.
That would have been the end. Yeah.
Like, none of these companies today give a flying fuck what
it's
anybody
kind of
thinks
sad,
of them.
though.
The interesting thing is, Rachel, with the latest Warner Discovery one, they tried to shit can a movie that probably was not going to make any money. It was called, like, Acme versus Coyote or something stupid like that. It's like
okay.
It wasn't going to... Come on. Why did you
It
make
wasn't
it in
going to
the
go
first
anywhere.
place?
Sure.
Like, you should have put that on Max to begin with. Whatever. But they were going to shit can it again. And the other studios were like, no, you're not. Because they were doing it to make a profit, of course, because that's all the guy in charge of Warner Discovery knows. He's a fucking accountant. Don't put an accountant in front of creative things.
True.
Then also, like, the fact that the rest of the studios are like, no, because this is going to set a bad precedent. If we allow you to do this, then the rest of us are going to start doing it. So they have to they told them, like, you have to shop it around. Like, somebody will buy it. But I don't know. I'm sure that they'll actually end up writing it off anyway, but that was the latest that I heard about that. So anyway, so they end up going, we have to find the new Doctor. Mm-hmm. Hugh Grant was approached to be the first.
Oh, interesting.
Or the Doctor. Yeah. I guess he did
I think I've
parody.
actually heard about that. Yeah.
Like, he did some...
I don't think that wouldn't have been good.
No, I think it would have they just thought it would have helped because of the name.
Of the
It's
name,
like having
yeah.
the name. But
Right.
I'd come in here and I've just come in my TARDIS and yes, we're going to go to space now.
He would do that a lot, wouldn't he? Because
Yeah,
he does
I
that
just-
a lot.
I don't know how that would have worked. Yeah, Bill Nye I'm going to be the ninth.
Which
Doctor.
honestly wouldn't
Would
have
have
been
been
bad, because he
Would
kind
have
of
probably
is
been
like
interesting.
the other ones. Yeah.
But it would have been a completely different style and energy than what
Yes.
Eccleston is giving here.
Absolutely.
Because Bill Nye's always kind of like, I'm going to tell you to piss off. Like, that's
It's true
his
too.
attitude.
I mean, Christopher Eccleston kind of plays that way too. He kind of has a screw you kind of
like
attitude.
like Bugs Bunny, though. Like, Bill,
Yeah,
like,
true,
he
he
plays it
is
like a
still silly.
cartoon character.
Very true. And he only
So-
does the one season. He refused to come back.
Right. He signed up for one season. I guess he didn't quite like doing it.
He wasn't a
I
fan of
guess.
doing it. He did it, but
Yeah.
he's like, I don't want to, this is it for me. I don't want
He
it.
didn't want to be typecast, is what he said. But then he said, like, there was a lot of pressure on the set and stuff, I guess, too. Or, I don't know
Sure.
what that means, but okay.
Probably to make him
so-
perfect because of the, like, you know.
Because of the pressure on to make him good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they end up finding Eccleston. He actually had worked on something with Davies in the past, so then they were able to kind of make it with him. Then they had to find a companion. And Davies and the partner that I mentioned earlier, was that Gardner?
Julie Gardner.
They did not want to make a companion that was similar to the past, where it was a damsel in distress type.
Sure.
Which I would have never known, because Billie Piper playing Rose is exactly what I thought the companion always was.
Sure.
So
It
yeah, I
makes
mean,
sense.
they do a good job of making this like, this is how the companion the new companion works.
She's a bit tougher. She's gonna
yeah.
at least try to do
She
stuff.
has a mind
as
of
well.
her own. She's independent. Yes,
Mhm.
she can think and things like that. So they end up deciding to get this. She was a pop star, was Billie Piper, and she was trying to be an actress, and she won out. David Tennant's future wife apparently was the other one that was up for contention.
Yes,
be
because
it.
well, she's the daughter.
She's
of
a
the fourth
doctor daughter
of Tom Baker.
Yeah, it's
and,
all very weird.
yes.
That's all very strange.
That's a funny story, but we can wait until later for that one.
Okay.
There was a panel with Tom Baker on it, and somebody had asked him, "What's the weirdest thing a fan had given you?" And he goes, "Grandchildren," because
Oh.
David Tennant was a huge nerd.
Sure, I believe that. I don't even have to not believe that.
I met Sylvester McCoy. He's the Seventh Doctor, and I've met David Tennant.
I get that that Eccleston didn't want to do it for more than a season because he's being typecast. Because like David Tennant, you think of he is Doctor Who. I think he embraces it though.
He
like
loves it. It is.
I mean, he's
oh
also
my God.
he's also the Purple Man in Marvel, and he's
Yes. He's a
Barty
lot of different
Crouch
things.
in Harry
Yep.
Potter. But he's
also
when-
in Good Omens.
close-
he's also in
If I
could
close
go on
my
and on.
eyes and you ask me,
Broadchurch.
oh, that's true, Broadchurch. But if I close
Mhm.
my eyes and you say Doctor Who, David Tennant is the one that pops into my head, right? It took Matt
Me
Smith
too.
being an incestuous dragon lord to have to not be Doctor Who.
But I don't think he also embraced it heavily.
I think so.
The both
Yeah.
of them, and continuing on, Peter Capaldi. Oh my God, he was like trying to be the Doctor for years.
Sure.
He was like putting his name in that hat as much as he could.
But
And
we'll
he
get
was
to
in
all
one of the
of
episodes
that.
before that too, before he became the Doctor.
Oh, I'm sure, because there's only so many British people. Every British actor is just in a bunch of British things. That's just how it works.
It's very true. That is
Oh, are you
actually
going to
very
be in Doctor
true.
Who, or are you going to be in Harry Potter? Oh, you're going to be in both of them.
I'm evil in one and I'm good in the other.
The other thing that they wanted to do was, apparently, all the old Doctor Who's were serials. So there would be 6 stories or whatever of the same story, and it would be the cliffhanger of, like, find out next week on Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now they were like, no, let's do standalone stories. And then the BBC execs that were in charge of the show were like, well, why don't we just do a bunch of 2-parters? So they said, why don't we do both? So the
So they
compromise
have
was, we'll do
standalones,
some
two-parters,
standalone,
a whole
some
overarching
two-parters.
story that's happening.
like a modern television show.
Yeah.
So on March 26th, 2005, the first episode of series 1 of Doctor Who comes out. Renumbering it was also part of the gig too, I guess.
Oh, fair.
They thought
I mean,
renumbering
like
it would
being
be,
like, we're starting over. This is it.
yeah. Just like a comic book does. They start the number ones to like, this is where you're going to enter. Like, don't bother with any of the other crap. So Rachel, it has withstood the test of time. It's got its big, big, big cult following. It's got all of the stuff. You've got all the gear. We've got all of the everything. But that's not the question. The question is, does Doctor Who have shelf life? And we're going to begin the journey through Series 1 today. We have it spaced out over a few volumes of shelf life for Kevin's sake. So apologies to all of you that want us to go through it right away. But Kevin needs breaks. Just like Rachel needs breaks with NXT, Kevin needs breaks with Doctor Who. So we're going to have to do that. So Rachel, anything else to add?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to hop into the first episode.
When we come back after a short break, we will begin our journey through the wormhole that is Doctor Who. After the break.
Do you want to come with me? Because if you do, then I should warn you. Because if you do, then I should warn you. You're going to see all sorts of things. Ghosts from the past, aliens from the future, the day the Earth died in a ball of flame. It won't be quiet, it won't be safe, and it won't be calm. But I tell you what it will be. The trip of a lifetime.
Doctor Who, coming soon.
And we're back.
We're back.
Oh, you're right. You know what, actually, Rachel? You should be doing the play-by-play.
I should be? Oh, God.
Yeah,
I'm
this
not
is like
good
your
at that,
thing.
though.
I should have made you do the background. I should have made you do the play-by-play.
It's more fun to see you do it, though, but for not knowing anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
And
a
then
bunch
being
of
like
stuff wrong,
the person that gets to like interject, be like, no, let me explain. Let me explain.
Okay. Do you have it up? Or do you have
Of course
this?
I have it up. Of course I do.
Okay.
I don't need it, but I do. I have it.
So we begin with the wormhole and the TARDIS opening us up with the opening credits and everything like that. Brief credits, and then the symbol of Doctor Who, a diamond ovalish shape. Has that always been? Or I think it's probably like it's a new score by Murray Gold. Mm-hmm. I know that, and it's probably a new symbol as well, probably for Doctor Who at that point, I think too. But yes, going through the wormhole. Now, Rachel, is that kind of a iconic image of the TARDIS going through the wormhole?
Absolutely an iconic image of going through space-time vortex.
Yeah, we're going to travel to Saturn and go through. We sent 12 people into the space-time vortex, and on the other side was nothing but a police call box from the 1950s.
But yeah, I mean that is very iconic of seeing the TARDIS just kind of being thrown through to get to its new zone.
That's the beginning, and we're off to the races here, March 26, 2005.
The episode Rose, by the way.
Oh yes, Rose, the first episode. I'm going to have to say this. And Rachel, I've complained about this my entire life. And I've complained about this ever since high-definition televisions
I knew you were going to say
trying to do motion smoothing.
Yes.
So folks at home, for those of you with high-def 4K TVs, OLEDs, what have you, Samsung, I think, makes it pretty tough to do this, but on every other television, you should be able to do this. Turn off your motion smoothing. Turn off your motion smoothing. Because otherwise, it looks like British television.
Some people like it.
Idiots.
I'm not saying I do.
I was going to call them sickos. I was going to sickos. Yeah, some people like it because it brings a sense of depth to the screen. I don't like it. I want it to look like a picture. That's what a fucking movie should look like. And
it does tend to have this, like, weird...
It's a weird gloss
to it.
Weird...
All of a sudden, you're just like, oh, why do they move that way? It does feel funky.
Weird movement. I've always called this... Whenever I look for a new television, I always try to make sure, and I've always referred to this as either soap opera...
Yeah, it does. It's soap opera-y. Yep.
Or British television. And I think it's because of the frame rate that they use, and I think it's because of the videotape versus film or something like that they use, or have used. But it gives it this motion effect that looks unnatural compared to if you
Yeah, it's
watch
a
it
little
on a
uncanny.
movie screen or on a television where you turn that off. Please turn that off if you're watching it with me. I remember one time in particular when like they first started doing this on televisions, and one of my friends in like his basement, we were watching a Harry Potter movie, and I just kept going, there's something wrong with this. Something doesn't look right. And it was because, of course, because he doesn't care nor know that the motion smoothing was on, and it was just like, this doesn't look right. It bothered it. It bothers me. You'll be happy to know, Rachel, I don't know if it's because of Max or because of whatever, or because I can mess with the figures myself. This did not do that to me.
I will say that Doctor Who doesn't have as much of that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
At least in
there
my
are-
opinion, I don't think it does.
I have seen you watching some Doctor Who shows where like I can see it and it's like ugh. But these particular episodes, watching it on this, and again, it might be because I have everything set up to not do that. Yeah, I did not get that effect watching these episodes, so that was nice. I just wanted to start out with that because if there's
okay.
ever a time
It's
for me
okay.
to rant about British television's frame
right
rate,
now.
it's now. So we zoom in on Earth. We start off in space, and we zoom in this CGI globe. Wonderful
Yes.
looking CGI globe,
beautiful.
by the way. And we go straight into Rose's room. Rachel, I could
Yes.
not, for the life of me, figure out how old Rose is supposed to be.
She
They say like
is,
19.
I believe like 18 or 19. Yeah.
Yeah, she looks older than that. And Billie Piper was 23 when this came out, or
Yeah,
something.
It's just a few
along
years
those lines.
older. It's not that much of difference, but
Yeah, it just she like at first I was like not putting her into this like 18, 19, which come on, Time Lord Doctor.
I think she's
Or
more
she
like
looked-
20,
You're
21
getting
in
a
my
little
opinion.
young in your companions here with this 18-year-old.
It's true. It's true considering he's like
Since you're
what, almost 900.
Thousands of years old or
No,
whatever
no, hundreds. He's only about like 800 and something, I think, right now.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's fine. He's the same age as Yoda.
I think he ends up being older than Yoda and looks way better.
Well, that's your opinion. So anyway, Rose wakes up. The framing device of her hitting the alarm clock, I thought that was going to come back. It comes back twice. I thought it was going to come back more than that, and I thought that she was going to question whether or not it was a dream, and she doesn't do that.
No. It would have been an interesting concept for that to happen. I like that idea, but
Yeah, because I thought that she was going to be more skeptical of everything that's about to happen, and she's not really skeptical about what happens.
I think she's a bit more excited about what's happening
Yeah.
because she's sick of the mundane.
Okay.
Because this is showing her life and just that like typical, okay, this is what happens during the day.
Yeah,
This is
there's a
just like my
montage of her.
everyday.
She heads out to work. She is in
Her
the
mom's
heart
on the
of,
couch. She does live with her mom.
Yeah, her mom, Rachel.
Yes, her mom.
We're watching Doctor Who.
I'm sorry.
It's in the heart of London. I think this is Westminster or Piccadilly Square. I don't know. Something in London. And it's on
There
location.
are words that I will not know.
like tea
I
and
know
crumpets.
they actually say where she's from, but I
We
can't
call
think
our
now.
crumpets biscuits and our biscuits cookies here in the States.
I think it is just London. I keep thinking
Do they just
there's
say
like another
London?
word. At some point they say like the word chav and stuff, so it's like look.
Whatever, close enough, was where they filmed it. So they actually went on location and filmed, which I think was another thing that Davies was trying to get them to do because of the fact that the old Doctor Who's were all on sound stages and sets, and
Which is really
apparently you could
obvious,
feel
too.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So now it's a little more open and it feels a little grander, like we're doing something a little more important. The other thing that's interesting about this episode is that it leaked online a week or two before the air date. There was actually a lot of anticipation to actually see it then after it got leaked. So that
that's
might have
really
helped
interesting.
because it actually rose the ratings because
It made people
of-
start talking about it right away.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's interesting.
Everything here looks extremely 2005. It looks like
Yes, it does.
2005 in a time capsule.
Yes, it does. Her outfit and everything.
She looks like someone. All right, so let's talk about Billie Piper's Rose at this point. So, a day in the life of her, like you said. She works, she has
Yes.
lunch with her boyfriend.
Yeah, she works
She's
at
working
like a department store.
She's folding clothes and doing stuff like that. So, like we
Exactly.
said, Billie Piper is a pop star. She looks like she belongs in the Big Brother house. She looks like she belongs in Big Brother UK. I don't know what
That's
that
funny.
means.
That's really
but that's
funny.
what I see.
Okay.
Why is that funny?
That might come in later.
Okay.
At some point, there's like an
All right.
episode. There's
Okay.
some stuff happens. It's just funny.
We'll get there then. So like she's kind of girl next door, but like glamour trash 2005, which I guess makes sense for being a pop star in 2005.
Yeah, that's true.
The one thing that she does a lot is this. She has a lot of movement with her mouth.
Yeah, well,
She
she's got
acts
a larger
a
teeth and
lot
stuff. Yeah.
with her mouth. Her mouth
does.
moves a lot. She
Yeah.
does. But even her bedroom looks like the Big Brother house with these fucking pink
kind of
walls and all this
does,
ridiculous
yeah.
shit everywhere.
She does have like a lot of stuff, and it's like pink. I think that's kind of what they're trying to make her look a little bit younger, a little bit more like
Yeah,
hip, and
I
with
think
all
you're
her
right.
stuff. And
Yeah,
she's with her
that's fair.
mom, and yeah.
That's fair. She's about to leave for the day at work, and this guard gives her a bag of something to deliver
money.
before she leaves for the day.
So she
Is it
it's
drugs?
it's the money from the till.
For Christ's sake.
It's from the cash register.
So she takes a lift down to the basement. Is
Or
going
no, she
to
calls
give
it the lottery
guard...
money. I forgot.
She calls
that
it
it's called the
lottery money, and I was like, "What is
Which
that?" And then
It's from the cash register.
okay, because the mom said something later about lottery money, and I was like, "Is everybody just like buying lotto tickets or something?"
Yeah, she actually has the whole lottery in her hand right now. It's not much, it's just a
No,
few
it was like
$100.
no. I thought it was like everyone at the department store like goes, chips in, and then they give it to Mr. Wilson, the electrician, and he goes to the drugstore or like the liquor store and buys the lottery tickets. So she goes down into the basement and she's planning to give.
I don't think it is, right? It's not that. It's not that, right?
No, I'm guessing that's my American translation, and I'm translating it wrong because like that's what we would say a lottery is. I think you're probably right, and it's more that it's the money from the
I just
registers.
kind of assumed, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think-
they don't really
I
say
think you're
anything
right.
about it. I just kind of like, oh yeah, it has to be like the money from the till. She works at a department store. They just have to see
Folks
it
at
downstairs.
home, let us know.
I could be wrong, actually. I have no idea.
It's irrelevant to the plot. It's just to get her down in the basement to have to try to find Mr. Wilson, because she goes down there, she can't find him. She's asking like where she is.
Yeah, because he's not answering. She wants
The
to go
protruding
home.
lips. She has those protruding lips as well.
She's
Very
got
British.
It's her teeth.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah,
Is that because she has the British teeth?
she's got.
Cut
They're
that.
a little bit. They go out a little further, so it makes her lip kind of like.
Okay, yeah. This is a very British face.
That's why her mouth is very expressive.
The big book of British smiles.
Yeah, she's got. Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
be banned from that country by the time Shelf Life is over.
They don't
Which-
care.
Yeah, they know. Our country sucks. I'm gonna be looking for asylum there at some point anyway. She hears something and goes into a storage area where the most horrifying thing that we've covered on Shelf Life happens.
If you are
Thus
afraid
far.
of mannequins, this might not be the episode for you.
Here's the thing. Mannequins are terrifying. Like, that and dolls, and they're creepy as shit. Okay?
Sure.
They are. These mannequins, are these British-style mannequins, or are these just very cheaply looking costumes? Because these mannequins are hilariously
I think
cheap.
these could actually be like mannequins. They look like real mannequins to me.
Okay. Because they look cheap and disturbing at the same time.
I
If
think
that
that's
makes
also a
any
mannequin,
sense.
though. Mannequins are cheap and disturbing. It's perfect.
Fair enough. She gets locked in because she's like, Mr. Wilson, or whatever she's saying. I don't think she's saying Mr. Wilson. She's just saying Wilson. And
Yeah, she's
the
just
door
yelling. She just like doesn't know where he went.
the door behind her shuts, because of course it does, and she's stuck in this room. As she's standing there, one of the mannequins' heads kind of turns. Good Foley work on the like creak of like the
Yes.
plastic turning.
And she
And-
thinks it's a person in a costume.
Yes, but then a lot of them start moving, so then you end up with all these mannequins starting to walk toward her, because apparently they just have all these mannequins in this storage room, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of odd, but I mean, if it's a giant department store, maybe. I don't know. Maybe this is normal. Do they just have like 1,000 mannequins ready to go?
They just got mannequins up the wazoo down in those department stores. I swear, and folks at home, correct me if I'm wrong about this, one of these mannequins has a little chest hair. I don't
They
know if
might.
it was just like, because I don't know if they would just kind of like just spray paint them the same color or whatever, but I thought that I could see a little chest hair on one of these mannequins. Rose is scared, because wouldn't you be? Because again, this is horrifying. There are mannequins chasing you.
yeah, absolutely.
But before they get to her, or right before they get to her, the doctor pops out,
And the
he
first
takes
thing
her
he
hand
says
is,
run.
Run.
It's
So is
very
that-
iconic. It is.
Is it?
It's
Okay.
a big deal, yeah.
Is that like the first words
It's
of
like
every
a thing.
doctor?
You run with the doctor, you know? You go
Okay.
on crazy adventures and you run. There's a lot of
Okay.
running involved. I know it's his first word though. It's his first word in the new season in the reboot and everything.
Yeah. So yes, we have the doctor. He is there. Oh, we don't get that for a while.
That's
There's
a little
two-
newer.
There are 2 tracks of Marie Gold's Doctor Who stuff that I think are great. One is with the Matt Smith Doctor, and the other is with the David Tennant Doctor. The score is fine here. It's
The Rose music is kind of pretty, just because it's like
What's the Rose music? Oh yeah, I'll give it that. I'll give you that.
That
Yes,
one.
I'll
yeah.
give you that. Yeah. Okay.
It's
Best part, I think.
mysterious.
Yeah. So now we have what Rachel will call her iconic duo of Rose Tyler and Doctor Number 9. As they run out another way. There was another door
there's
or
just
something
probably
that
some
the doctor
hallways.
came in.
Right.
And they run into an elevator. One of the mannequins tries to stick his arm in, and he pulls it off.
I mean, the elevator doesn't have a safety thing, obviously, because the elevator would have just opened. Something is in the way.
Yeah.
It should have just
Yeah.
opened. But that one
That's
does
right.
not have a safety.
Yeah.
Luckily, I guess.
I guess so, now that you mention it. It's a freight elevator or something. there's
Yeah,
no
right.
there's whatever. So they're standing here, and Rose asks if this is some sort of student thing. Mm-hmm. And the doctor's like, no, it's not. Why would you say that? And she's like, because the only way that you could get this many people to do something so silly and stupid is if it was a bunch of students. And he goes, oh, very good, or whatever he says.
Yeah, like it's clever. Well done.
I think it's supposed to show the doctor that she's got like a good critical thinking skills.
Yeah,
'Cause
she's actually like
okay,
thinking about the situation.
Yeah, like this can't be mannequins coming to life. It has
She's
to be
assessing what's happening.
yeah. So she's like, okay, this isn't real, so this means that this is a bunch of students doing some sort of flash mob or something like that.
Right.
The only thing I think that is more terrifying than mannequins coming to life would be a flash mob.
I mean, it would be kind of scary to be in the middle of one. I would run away.
Flash mobs are a scourge on the planet. I'm glad that that fad came and went. So the doctor has an explosive or something. He's like, I'm going to blow them all up with this. I'm telling you, Rachel, I
The
get
way
like,
you just did that voice, he sounds so weird. He's so
He
much
has-
deeper voice.
well, I can't do a Christopher Eccleston impression.
No, probably would be kind of difficult.
But he comes off to me as like Bugs Bunny. Like he is this kind of like wascally wabbit type of character.
I think that is kind of the way he plays it. I feel like he's a bit darker, but he does kind of ham it up.
He does in some points, yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he does ham it up. I can't remember watching a David Tennant with you to know that. I know Matt Smith takes it pretty, like, he's a more serious doctor. I don't remember if, right?
David Tennant is a bit of a mixture.
Yeah.
So once we get
So
to
it
him,
kinda
you're going to
goes-
see, like, the side of him that gets really dark at points. And then
Yeah.
there's the side that's very playful.
Yeah. So he tells Rose to just go home, eat her beans and toast, which of course we know is the epitome of British cuisine.
Yes. Beans on toast. Enjoy.
You ever had beans on toast, Rachel?
I'm not a big fan of beans, so no.
Neither am I.
I
Folks
don't know
at
what
home,
kind of
in
beans.
I think it would
Particularly
our British audience. Can you recommend some sort of bean and toast recipe to us?
I want
'Cause
to try it. I'll do it.
as a Yank, I put jelly or jam or butter or
peanut butter. Yeah.
on my toast like a normal person. But I'm also an American who eats terribly. So
what is that? What is the really gross looking stuff that they put on it? Like the
Vegemite, but that is
Vegemite.
That's
No.
That's Aussies, mate. That's the
Oh, that's
other
also
side of the
Aussies,
British
that's
Empire.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
See,
just
all
trying to think of
parts-
other spreads. It's like that is like a you don't expect you know what you're eating when you eat some Vegemite. So
Hey, British colonialism went all over the world, Rachel, and the thing that they decided to have in common or different is what they put on their toast. That's how you can tell where the British have gotten their little grubby hands in
oh no.
of what's being put on their toast. I just wanted to do a big Winston Churchill. Hey, what are we putting on the toast this morning? Beans again. I went
Winston
over
Churchill's
that.
in Doctor Who.
Fucking course he is.
Like not actually the Winston Churchill, but you know what I mean.
But he could have been if that fat bastard would have lived long enough.
He probably could have.
I'm doing a walk on this new program called Doctor Who. Well, hello there, Doctor. You're a very fashionably looking man. Let me ask you something. Would you like a nice cigar, Doctor? Rachel's like, yeah,
Right.
that's what he asked him in that episode.
He probably
So
does,
anyway,
actually. I wouldn't be surprised.
So he tells Rose to leave. Don't tell anybody about this, or you'll put them at risk for dying.
Yeah, you'll get him killed. I think it's because he is planning on blowing this place up, and he doesn't want anybody to come.
Yeah, I guess so, because I was like, what else? Like, what harm would it really do other than them not believe you? Like, what's going to happen? But I guess you're kind of right. So then he says, I'm the doctor, by the way.
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
Run for your life.
Yep.
That's how he says it. That's exactly how he says
Run
it.
for your life. And then, I mean, she does. She's still holding the arm of the mannequin.
Why does she
by
have
way.
the mannequin arms?
I think
still?
because it's like one of those, like, you're just stunned by what's happening,
Focused
so you just
on
hold on.
running, so she's not.
Yes.
Yeah, she's not.
So
thinking
she's just
about what's
holding
in her
on
hand.
to everything that's in her hands.
Okay. She's afraid of what's going on, so she's like looking a little paranoid all around. Like I guess because she's thinking like another mannequin or something could pop up. I think potentially.
Well, because he said it's not students. Like, well, what the hell's going on then? So
Right.
it's like, okay.
Rachel,
and
is
then-
this a thing? Are these mannequins? I guess I could ask this just about the show in general, but this plastic empire that we end up learning about, is that a recurring villain in the Doctor Who universe? No? Okay.
No, I don't think it comes back. I'm pretty sure it doesn't.
So
yeah, I
there's
don't
a
think the living
CG
plastic is going to come back on this one.
What a bizarre concept.
There's like things that are similar to living plastic, but I don't think it is living plastic. I'm trying to like think of all the different episodes now. There's a lot.
So, yeah, I mean, Rachel is a big fan. She's by no means an expert. So if especially me, if either of us get something wrong, like just take it in stride, guys. We cannot remember everything with pop culture. That's impossible. And if you are doing that, then whoo boy howdy. Anyway,
Yeah.
CGI explosion of the department store. And
Big
Rose passes the TARDIS, so you get the TARDIS in the background. She doesn't recognize it, of course, but you see it in the
course.
background. And then later, she's back at home. Her mom's on the phone, going, "You know, she barely got out of there alive."
Oh, her mom is a character. She is
Yes.
nuts.
Yeah, you can tell that her mom's fucking crazy. She's one of these crazy British ladies that's just like, "Well, you're having a laugh," kind of.
Oh,
Yeah,
I feel like she does have. Are you having a laugh? A lot. I have a feeling that probably happened.
yeah, it's got to. Her
But she's a
boyfriend
bit of
shows
a
up.
eccentric.
Yeah, she's aloof.
And
that's
she
for
wants
sure.
to be as old as her daughter, so
Yes, she very much does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can very much tell that she wants to be her daughter's age. I can't remember if it's in this scene or another scene where she says something about like, "Yeah, but she looks older than me." or
oh, she says
something
it
like
here.
that.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, you should see her. It's aged her. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the daughter now." Like
Her boyfriend shows up. He was
Mickey.
oh Mickey. Okay,
Yeah.
He was phoning her mobile, Rachel,
I know. I think. Yeah.
just so that you can remember that we're in 2005
2005. Yep.
and British because.
Yeah, I
we
think
would-
all of
we
that's
would have
kind
said,
of like
call your cell even back
Yeah.
then.
right.
He thought she was dead. And the mom's like, "You could probably get 500 quid for an interview." And Rose takes the phone and hangs up on one of the friends. And then, of course, another friend immediately calls the mom.
Right.
Now her job is kaput, and all the mom's friends are calling and want to know what happened. And I guess probably also trying to make sure that Rose is
I mean, it's a big
alive.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
they all knew she worked at
If
the
you were-
department
if you
store, and
heard
the
that-
department store just blew up. Like,
Yeah,
like
if you
okay,
heard
this is a
that the
big
place
deal.
that I was
Could be
working at was on
terrorists,
fire,
like,
you would be
no
calling like,
idea.
"Are you okay?" Yeah, well,
absolutely.
apparently, they're in one of the original cuts of this. They do refer to it as a terrorist act, but then they had to cut it out because
Little
mid
too
2000s that
scary.
was a little
Right.
too dark to be including in your Doctor Who episode.
Absolutely. But I mean, that would be the scary thing with that. Everybody would probably be calling everybody they know, going, "What's going
Right.
on? Have you seen anything else?" Like,
The boyfriend, what's his name?
Mickey.
Asks if she wants some tea, and she says she needs something stronger than that down at the pub. Or maybe he says, "Wait, you need something stronger than that down at the pub." And she's like, "Is there a match going on?" And he's like, "Well, your last few minutes we can get in there." So she's like, "No, go ahead." And I was like, "Yep, we're in England, all right." So he tells her to get rid of the arm, or she tells him to get rid of the arm for
Yeah,
her.
like, just go toss it out. I don't know why I still have it.
They have this very shitty 2005 TV, which I'm pretty sure I had in my dorm room. He throws it
Yeah,
in
it's like
the
the
trash.
bulky one, isn't it? It's not even like a flat.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bulky.
No, it's
Yeah,
not a
yeah.
flat. It's just this big bulky thing. He throws the arm in the trash
In
as
the
he
bin.
leaves.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have to. Go ahead.
Apologies. Yeah, no, you're right. Apologies. It makes a tapping like thing from the Addams Family sound, like the.
Yeah,
is what you
yeah, like
hear.
it's like creeping around.
She wakes up the next day. Rose does. This is where I wrote down that all the walls are so 2005, and so 2005 England.
I think our cousin had like bright pink walls like that though, with sparkles. That was like a thing. But I guess that would be like older when
Early 2000s.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it really was like very pastel-y bright colors of that. Like Britney Spears music videos all had bright fucking colors
Oh,
and shit in it.
absolutely.
Like that's
Right.
what it looked like. Her mom wants her to try to make money off of this, and she thinks that that's her mom's goal. Is like, you go down to the police station, you could probably get 50 quid for this or whatever.
Well, because it's like
I don't quite understand how she thinks she's gonna make money off of it. Just the fact that she was there. I guess you could get some sort of insurance,
like a
probably in
workers'
England, if,
comp
like,
or something,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, like some sort of unemployment benefit of like, yeah, my place of employment
My
blew up.
place of blew up and I am out of work now. Yeah.
She thinks she hears a cat coming through the mail slot, and she is like, "Yeah, I told you to fix this." So she walks over and she sees that there's like nails have been removed. So it's like a cat wouldn't have done that.
Right.
And she like kind of lifts up the slot, and on the other side is the Doctor. I assume this is because he was able to track a living mannequin.
He's tracking the plastic.
Okay.
Yes.
He's got a pen, which turns out to be the sonic screwdriver.
A screwdriver.
The mom flirts with the Doctor because there's a strange.
I think you think it's a pen
man.
because I have a pen that is a sonic screwdriver.
Okay, that's possible.
I have a feeling that's what it is.
It looks pennish.
Yeah, yeah.
The mom flirts with the Doctor, and she's like,
Yes.
"Oh, there's a strange man in here.
There's a strange man in my bedroom and anything could happen. And then he goes, "No," and then just walks away.
Yes, he passes. He passes on sleeping with the mom. He's got his eyes on this 18-year-old girl. This is where I think that Rose. Maybe this is a more English type of thing. The strange man that blew up your department store.
I mean, he saved her.
I get that. But I would be like, you're not coming in to the house. You can I'll go to you somewhere in public because I don't know who you are. And I feel like she's just so accepting of like, "Well, do you want some tea?" And he's like, "Oh,
Well, I
no,
think
I'd have
that's
some
just a
milk,
very British
please."
thing. But I think she just wants answers, and since he's there,
Sure, because she, like I said, she does just accept it. So I think she's trying to figure out like, okay, what is going on?
right?
He flips through their shit, a magazine and a book and stuff. He sees himself in the mirror for the first time, and I know that this is a thing.
Yes.
So my guess, what I've surmised from this entire episode, is that he has regenerated recently because
he's just regenerated.
because he's talking
from
about
the
how
Eighth Doctor.
he's like, "Oh, my ears, does this have to deal with these?" And
yeah, they're big.
yeah, he's got some ears on this guy. But he has to have regenerated somewhat recently, but enough also to have gone to the Kennedy assassination and the Titanic. as well.
Well, you don't know when that could have happened. So that could have happened before this, but it could have also happened after this,
Oh.
but he went back
right.
and did that.
Nope.
Yeah.
You're right. Thank you for correcting me on that
You're
one.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, he,
It could
so then he has
could have happened
has,
at any time.
Yeah, so then he has regenerated recently. As he is standing there, the arm attacks him and begins to choke him. She thinks he's faking it when she sees this.
Because Mickey did it earlier. He was like pretending that it was choking him earlier.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because she's like, I told
she's
him
just
to
like,
throw
oh my
that
God.
out. Yeah. But the arm then grabs onto her. And you get some wonderful acting from them as it's just some fun stuff of just pretending. It's so cheap. It's
yeah.
like, I'm not saying that to be derogatory. It's just funny, like, how simple and
yeah.
cheap it is. Because it's just like,
But sometimes
here's
the
this,
simplicity of it is really nice. I kind of
Yeah.
like that sometimes.
just this plastic arm, and they're pretending like it's attacking them. And then they
Yes.
fall through the coffee table like a Chris Farley pratfall. And he uses the screwdriver to stop it, which I feel like makes the screwdriver like more powerful than
Sonic.
fucking Voldemort's wand, because he's just
But
like
it's Sonic, that's why.
puts it up to it. Mean.
It's the
What does
Sonic
that
part
mean?
of the Sonic screwdriver. I don't know. It's magic. It's science. It's
A wizard did it.
it's alien technology. What do you want from me?
Rachel, you are the expert of Doctor Who. You are supposed to know all 1,000 or however many goddamn episodes there are of this thing.
I'm gonna do my best. But some of this is not going to be explained by this is what it is. It is what it is. You roll with it.
So the doctor leaves with the arm, like the dead arm or whatever, but she chases him down the stairs, wanting to know more. So to your point, Rachel, she's pretty inquisitive. She wants to know, like, what's going on.
Yes.
And she says, well, you have to tell me or I'll start talking. And you said, if I tell anybody, I'm going to get some people killed. So this is where I thought she said, like, what is your name? And he goes, I told you, I'm the doctor. And that's where I think she says, Dr. What?
Oh, she does say Dr. What here. It was earlier when they were just like, he was walking around looking at everything, and she goes, what was your name again? Dr. Who? That's what she was saying. As she was getting the
okay.
tea
I missed
together.
that one.
Yeah.
I missed that
So she
one.
says
Okay.
it there, but now it's Dr. What? Like what
Gotcha.
doctor are you? Like what kind?
And as they're walking, a fairly decent and more modern day shot. I guarantee they wouldn't have done this in the older series, and I think that's part of the point of doing it, where they're just walking down like this alleyway and like down this like park, and it's all in one shot as they're talking, and
Right.
you wouldn't have been able to do that on a sound stage. So she says, is that supposed to sound impressive? And he goes, sort of. And so I wasn't totally buying her being so fascinated with the doctor, but I get that you're just supposed to, like you're saying, she's supposed to be
this
like,
weird stuff just happened, and everything is usually
Yeah.
mundane. Like, what is this? What is going on?
yes, okay, and that's fair. That's fair. The entire world revolves around you, and he goes, sort of, yeah. So
A little pompous. All Time Lords are.
she tells him to start from the beginning, and I think he goes over it. Talks about this living plastic. They have this thought control. It's a really long story. They lost their planet, so they needed to find a planet that made sense for them, and because Earth has nothing but plastic on it, it made sense to come here, right?
Right.
Then she asks him, really, Doctor, who are you? So I guess she kind of says it there
There you
too.
go.
And he explains that it's like when you're a kid. The first time they tell you the Earth's moving, you can't believe it because nothing's moving, but he can feel it all. And she's like, there's a lot of hand holding, which is weird as well. That's got to be a doctor thing, though, I feel like.
Probably just like the touchy-feely kind of stuff. Yeah.
Sickos.
I don't know. I think he's also trying to get her to like feel it with him.
Yes,
I think it's just
yes,
one of
I
those
think that is.
things.
I think that is the point. Yeah, she sees the TARDIS vanish because he just kind of leaves, and the TARDIS vanishes with him. She goes to the boyfriend explicitly because she doesn't have internet, I think, and needs to use his computer. So we get a 2005 computer, which looks like a 1995 computer. This
Which it
fucking
probably
thing.
was.
This thing looks old as hell.
Oh yeah, it's an old one. It's great.
Like, sometimes, Rachel, I've complained about how I feel like we've plateaued a bit when it comes to technology, and I guess it has been 20 years since this, but we've come a long way. When you look at this
We've
thing,
come a long way. It's true. It is very true.
So she looks on the internet, and even back in 2005, kids who should be listening to Shelf Life with their parents' permission, you could find all sorts of conspiracy theories and wackadoos and fun stuff back
absolutely.
in 2005. And she finds a site where a guy is claiming conspiracy theories about the Doctor.
It says contact Clive if you've seen this, man.
Yeah.
I honestly I like
that was-
Clive. I'm sad about Clive, but
That was very old school kind of internet though. It puts you right there.
Like he just has like here's
my
this website
stuff.
I created
Yeah,
quick
nobody cares.
with an image and some words and
Yeah, a very GeoCities centric page and cheap like what was
great.
What was the like Angel Fired but not like Flash, like using
Oh,
Flash
yeah, with, like, the
to,
Flash
make
stuff.
graphs
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. The internet's best time was between like 2004 2010 or so, and then it just fell off a fucking cliff. Became the cesspool that you know today. So because now Rose is just so fascinated, she has the boyfriend take her to this guy's house. And at least she thought to bring the boyfriend with because it like
I think he wanted to go with. I don't think she even cared if he came with, to be quite honest.
well he has a good point because he's like this guy could be a nutter, this guy could be like a serial killer and could be
right, like some
ready to
lunatic on
murder
the
you.
internet.
Yeah, is this some conspiracy nut on the internet? So she says that that's not the case. Like he's got a wife and kids and stuff. Now
I still think he's a lunatic.
in the 2020s, there are plenty of people with wives and kids that are fucking crazy on the internet. So that doesn't really mean anything. But the boyfriend also stays outside and is there just in case that she ends up trying to... Yeah. I like that he tries to act tough as he like sits in this little Volkswagen bug.
He like gives him this look like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
like,
he tries to like mean mug it. Yeah. This kid opens the door and says, "Dad, it's one of your nutters." Clive comes to the door. It might as well have been Stephen Fry. I know that they wanted Stephen Fry to potentially be the Doctor, which would have been pretty good. But
oh yeah, sure.
One of the most British suburb-looking men I have ever seen in my life. If you asked me to like draw a picture of a British man in the suburbs, it's Clive.
Very true, though. It's very true.
So they did a great job of casting this role. He tells her, "Let's go back out to the shed," which is where you always want to go with a stranger the first time that you've met them.
Stranger.
When they're you're. I'm not even gonna do the British voice. I'm just gonna go, "Oh yeah, you saw me on the internet. Come back with me to my shed. I'll show you all my conspiracy theories."
Which I'm pretty sure he has garlic hanging from the ceiling too, and I don't think I've noticed
Does
that
he?
before. Yeah,
I did not notice that.
I think there's like a bicycle, but then there's also like garlic on string.
So he's got potentially some vampire theories.
Nut. Yeah.
So at first I thought he doesn't think that the Doctor is a time traveler. He thinks it's a title passed down from father to son. So he thinks like all of these people that he's seeing are like the same family. Yeah, that happens to influence things across the decades. But then he says that, or maybe he thinks like that's something that some of the conspiracy nuts on the internet think. But he says that no matter, like every time he shows up, he brings death with him, which must just be kind of like a recurring thing too. Like, is that like part of the lore? And then
sure,
what he thinks the Doctor is an immortal alien. He thinks it's the same guy. Well, he's right. Can the Doctor die, Rachel?
Yeah.
Can?
Yes, he
Even
can.
though he regenerates, he can die.
He can die. That is possible.
Would he regenerate if he was killed, or no?
Yes. So first he'd regenerate, right? If you kill him during a regeneration, he's gonna die.
Okay.
And he'll be gone. But typically, if they die, they'll regenerate.
Got it. Okay.
I think there's probably other ways to kill him too, but
I'm
like
sure.
that's the typical.
Well, I'm planning to kill an immortal Time Lord, so I'm just trying to figure out.
I told you how to do it now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Meanwhile, the bin starts to creep toward the boyfriend. So it was garbage day. Garbage day, I guess. So one of the neighbors brought out their garbage can. And it starts to move closer to the boyfriend. And the boyfriend gets suspicious of this, and he goes to, like, touch it or, like, open the garbage can.
I think he goes to open it.
Yeah, because he thinks, like, something
it's like,
must
what's
be in
inside?
it. Yeah.
Right.
And as he's going to do this, it sucks him in. It grabs onto him first and, like, it, like, stretches and
this
hangs
great
onto him.
CGI. Fantastic, beautiful CGI of the plastic stretching.
You'll think you're watching Lord of the Rings or something. It's just
oh my god,
fantastic.
It looks so realistic.
So I guess it does this because it's made of plastic. So it's part of the hive mind.
Sure, it's
now.
probably it's probably like pulling him.
Yeah, but it swallows him whole into the
Yes.
bin. She comes out after hearing about the immortal alien speech and says that he's a nutter, he's a conspiracy freak. So the boyfriend was right.
Yeah, she just doesn't believe him.
The boyfriend has clearly been changed into a plastic mannequin man.
Yes.
I don't know
Very
how.
clearly.
And Rose, I don't know how you didn't realize that he was changed into a plastic mannequin man.
I mean, she's just not really paying attention. I think her mind is elsewhere.
Yeah. They go to lunch because she's like, well, let's get some lunch. Do you want pizza or Chinese?
And
the
mannequin
just
man
keeps
goes
going,
weird.
Pizza, like a infant ninja turtle. And
Yep.
the dude's complexion keeps changing too. You'd think that she would notice that he keeps getting like
He's a little like grayer,
yeah,
or like he looks plastic, so he looks shiny,
yeah.
and then his hair looks fake as can be.
A fair job, I guess, as far as makeup goes for a show on a budget like this.
Right. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have variations in his skin tones anymore. It's just like one thing because it's plastic. So it's good. It looks good.
They're at lunch, and she is saying that she wants to talk about, like, she's talking about how she doesn't know what she's going to do for a job or anything like that. And the boyfriend mannequin keeps trying to bring up the doctor again and, like, wants to know more about the doctor. Like, what did he say? Did he say anything? And she's like, I don't want to talk about him anymore. I don't think he's safe because of the whole thing about death following him.
Right.
This next part, I couldn't understand why this was the part where he starts glitching, because he keeps going, babe, sweetheart, but babe, sweetheart.
Darling sugar. Yeah, I don't think he knows like what to say.
Is it because he doesn't know
it's
what
the voice part?
Okay, because I was like, does he not know what the term of endearment is that he would be saying to her? So
I think that's also part of it.
Okay,
but I don't think he's really talked most of this time. I think he said the pizza thing. The pizza thing was weird too.
Yeah,
and then it's like it's hard for them to copy vocals. Like they're getting better at copying physical.
Yeah,
but it's probably hard for them to copy the vocal.
Waiter comes by with champagne. It's clearly the doctor, and then it's. After they both try to reject it, then the mannequin looks up and is like, oh, it's you. And then he realizes that it's the doctor, who shakes up the champagne bottle and shoots the cork into the mannequin's face, who absorbs it in another brilliant CGI
fantastic
shot.
And then he spits it out.
And they begin to fight. They fight enough in this cafe or whatever, and he rips the head off the mannequin.
Oh, it's so violent.
I mean, part of what Davies said was it needs to have some, like, a little bit of violence to it. Like, that's Doctor
Who. A
little
bit of action, a little bit of violence, of course.
Great effects.
It's kind of funny, though.
I laughed a little bit of just how silly this part is, where the headless mannequin is chasing them down. Mm-hmm. They go into this alley, and this is where I learned that the sonic screwdriver was the name of the tool, not the pen.
Right.
And he just Rose is like, what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to go? And he's like, just go in the TARDIS. It's fine. So she's like, you want me to go in there? This is a little box in the middle of the alley. Not going in that wooden box.
Open the gate! Use that tube thing, come on!
Sonic screwdriver.
Use it!
Nah. Tell you what, let's go in here.
Can't I decide a wooden box?
Right.
This thing looks cheap. This is just
the TARDIS?
A charming, cheap little prop. This TARDIS.
I love it though.
I'm not saying it as a bad thing.
I know, but you can't knock the TARDIS. I won't allow it. Everything else is fair game.
No, this is the This is Doctor Who, right? This is the TARDIS.
Yes.
That is what makes this
Time and
whole
relative
thing work.
dimension in space.
Thank you, because I tried to write that down and I can't remember where I did. She goes in, looks stunned. We only have her point of view, and then she comes back out. She walks around it,
Yes.
deciding, I think, whether to risk it with the mannequin following them or not.
And then
So
not believing what she's saying either.
She tries to, I think, go back and try to like pull the fence open
locks
again,
and
the
stuff.
lock
Yeah.
open, and then she just decides, okay, I guess I'll go in here. So she goes in the TARDIS, and we find out how much larger it is inside.
It's bigger on the inside.
And she
You gotta say it.
is that like a thing?
That's another thing. Yeah.
Okay, see, I'm glad that she knows these. He tells her to shut up a minute while he does something. And
Of course.
we get the inside of the TARDIS. It looks
He's
like
kind of rude. I'm telling you. You
Yeah,
say
it's a
he's
little
like
rude.
Bugs Bunny, but he's rude.
Bugs
you know?
Bunny
He's a
is
Bugs
rude.
Bunny. Yeah, you're right. He is.
It looks like the command center from the Power Rangers movie.
It does. Yes, I also think I said that when I first saw it.
Rachel, can you describe the inside of the TARDIS, please?
So it's like it looks almost like a dome.
Rachel's like, it looks like the
actually.
command
It's
center
got-
from the inside.
It looks like the command center from the inside of it. There's like these orbs on the inside that kind of just like line it, and then seems like there's a little command center in the middle that's round with like a lot of buttons and knobs and levers, with like a piece in the middle that just like looks glowy and like whirs. There's a lot of like wires
There's
and stuff around the
tubes
place.
and wires
It's
and, yeah.
very alien looking.
Yeah.
Almost like suction cups of an octopus, I guess is kind of how you could describe it. But yeah,
She says,
there's the inside. That's what this one looks like.
oh, they change. That's interesting.
Yes.
So, it's
like the old one, if you look back at the old one, it's
a
metal.
skinnier
It's like
TARDIS, right?
It's like silver smooth metal, and like the saucer in the middle looks a little different, and yeah,
She
kind of
asks,
regenerates with the Doctor. I'll tell you
okay.
that one.
I mean, that makes sense because the way that they're able to keep this going for so many decades is that it's the same premise, but it's a completely different show every time, sort of.
Sure, they have a different personality.
Yeah. Is it alien? She asks, and he says yes. And then she goes, "Are you?" And he goes, "Yes."
Yes.
So she gets freaked out a little bit, and then she's like, "No, I'm all right." Because he's like, "Yeah, it's a little bit of a shock. I get it." And then she's like, "No, I'm all right." Because I think it's supposed to be showing that she's tougher than what any other like doctor would have anticipated, like finding this person or whatever.
Right.
Apparently,
But she's more upset though. She's wondering where Mickey is. Like, is he dead?
That's right. Yes, she thinks that Mickey might be dead, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think of that." So he freaks out because the head starts melting as she tries to say, like, "What do you mean you didn't think of that? My boyfriend like could be dead, and you didn't tell." Like, so she asks him, "Why does he sound like he's from the north?"
Yes.
Is that because Chris Eccleston
Dialect.
is from like northern UK or something?
Potentially, or he's putting it on. I think that's like he also says like a lot of places have norths. I think is like the joke, but
Gotcha. Oh,
I think it's just a dialect, like from
Yeah.
from the north. And
It's like
so
if we had a New York accent or a Canadian accent or a Midwest accent or something like that, you'd say like, "Oh, you're from the north
Right.
versus the south here." Yeah, I did miss that. So the head starts melting. He freaks out. So then he has to start like pressing buttons and stuff on his TARDIS, and it ends up transporting them from the alley to somewhere else,
right.
like a Riverwalk type of area. That's where
Mm-hmm.
she asks why he sounds like he's from the north. She goes, what's a police box?" And that's where he tells her the
And
concept.
it's old. So even for there, it's old.
Well, because he tells her the concept of the police box. It's a disguise. It's a telephone booth from the 50s. I think even in the 60s when the show came on, that would have been like antiquated, right? So like that would have been the joke even back then. So like now
Yeah.
it's not a disguise at all. It's
Right.
just-
It stands out.
yeah. I even put down in my notes, so like, Rachel, why does it look like that? But I think you've explained it as just, it's kind of the inside joke of like, it's a box from the 50s.
Well, it's the chameleon. Okay, so he does explain that it's supposed to be a disguise, and at some point I think it comes up again, and he explains like, why don't you change it? Why doesn't it change with like the places you go to? And it's like the chameleon converter or whatever the hell it's called is broken, so it's just he doesn't change it. But I also think he just likes it the way it is, so he keeps it that way.
Okay.
So
I'll take
and the
that as an
TARDIS is kind of
explanation.
living in itself, so it might be like, no, I like being this way.
Yeah.
too.
I like that explanation just fine. So this is where he explains the whole thing with the plastic, and he has anti-plastic
Yeah,
because,
anti-plastic.
of course.
Yes, that's right.
And the problem is that he can't find the transmitter for it. So he's got this thing ready to kind of stop the invasion that's going to happen, and of course it's just anti-plastic because it's silly.
It's fine.
It's silly.
It's science-y, antimatter, anti-plastic.
So he explains that this transmitter needs to be like a big round thing, and
Right, something big and round, and it'd be huge.
and she's staring at the very famous, what's the Ferris wheel in London called?
The London Eye.
The Eye. That's right. Yes. So they're using the Eye as the transmitter, of course. And the gag is that he keeps going, "What? What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" And he keeps turning his head back and forth,
Yeah.
like a cartoon character.
Yes, like a cartoon character. I think you're right. Yeah, he's very a wascally rabbit type of thing. So yeah.
Then he finally gets it. So we get some good comic timing here.
And
they
he says
run
brilliant, right?
Fantastic, I think is his
Fantastic,
word, right?
yes. Fantastic is his word.
That's
yes.
his catchphrase. And they run down.
They all have one.
Yes. I think Eccleston even says that he wanted it to be fantastic because the world is fantastical. So that's
I like it. It's nice though.
So they run down to it. I don't get the hand holding thing, but I felt like it had to be a Doctor Who companion thing.
Well, I think it's
like
I'm
them
gonna
run
say
hand
it's a
in hand.
companion. He's just pulling her along.
Yeah. So if they don't stop this, every artificial thing will become alive, breast implants included, as Rose points out. Which could be interesting. Oh, yeah. That could probably be my next step here to make some...
no.
You didn't expect me to show up on your Doctor Who episode, did you?
I didn't. No.
There's some living breasts. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, anyway, he's a pervert, Rachel. So I can
know.
do that.
I know. Yeah. I mean, think about the people who have fake arms and legs and stuff though too. Those would end up being...
now they'll all come alive. Well, especially if they just have a plastic, like a
it's
Munson
just a plastic
arm.
Piece.
Yeah, a Doyle Munson
Yeah.
arm. She thinks that it might be under the sewer grates, so they go down. So she figured that out too for him. They enter into this lair. It's the Terminator factory from Terminator 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the Terminator...
The London Underground.
Yeah, the T-1000 has fallen into it, so now it's kind of bubbling and screaming and stuff. That's what we're dealing
that would
with.
make sense. Yeah.
So it's the end of
that
Terminator
makes
2. And he
What was
says...
that music? I'm trying. All of a sudden, that music popped into my head.
That's what I picture. He isn't there to kill it. He wants to give it a chance. He wants to give it a chance to leave on peaceful terms.
Right.
So he asks to talk to it. He wants permission to approach. He asked permission under the Shadow Initiative or something like that. I figured that was another thing.
It is a thing.
Should I not ask what it is and let that unfold?
It's
naturally?
just something. It's like the spacey police,
Space
I
cops?
guess you could
Yeah.
call it. Yeah.
Okay.
Council, I guess.
Her boyfriend is there, and he's alive. So she runs up to
Weird that they
save
left him alive, considering they killed Wilson. They let Mickey live, but
because they made a copy of him. I think
that's
he
true.
even says it. They
so they
kept
would have
him
use him
alive so that they could maintain a copy of him.
Sure, yeah.
So he says that was always a possibility, and she gets mad at the doctor for not telling her that could have been a possibility. And he's like, why don't you save this for later when we can talk about that. So he approaches the CG lava pit, of course, being kind of smug, tells it to shunt off. And then he tells it that it's an invasion, plain and simple. And you don't get the other side, so you have no idea what the lava pit is telling it. I know that the lava pit has a name. I can't remember what it is called.
I think they just call it the consciousness because it's kind of like a hive mind
I think
type
that's
of
right.
thing.
Something about the consciousness, yes. It eventually, he calls humans stupid little people, but they're capable of so much. You can't invade them now. And as he's saying this, the pit reveals that the consciousness reveals that the TARDIS has been kind of captured by the mannequins.
Yes, they took that.
So that means that they know who he is. And you can tell they know who he is because you don't get the side where they're telling him this. But he's like, no. I tried to stop it. I tried to stop the war and all this stuff. He fought in the war. It wasn't his fault. He couldn't save any of them. So something with the backstory, and I'll get into it more when we talk about the end of the world episode too. I think, Rachel, because I have a theory.
Ooh,
I have two theories. I have one that's
fun.
more
I love
probable
it.
than the
Okay.
other. Yeah, the mannequins take him, and they find the anti-plastic. He calls it insurance. He wasn't going to use it, but so despite this, the consciousness starts having a fit. It asks if the TARDIS is his ship.
They call it. I think they say it's like a weapon. It's his weapon or something like that.
He describes it as
a
a weapon. He's like, it's not a weapon, but it recognizes the TARDIS and says that it's terrified. It's going to the next step because like it's afraid of whatever the Doctor is, which is a Time Lord. Like it must be afraid of the Time Lords for some reason.
Sure. Yeah.
Rose calls her mom, who's trying to get a compensation at the police station. And now she's going to go to the store at night. And as she's there, the plastic thing activates a signal which sets off all the mannequins to attack. And they have guns in their hands for some reason, or some sort of weapon, because Clive and his family are also at the mall shopping. And they kill Clive!
I was so upset about them killing Clive.
Like,
Because Clive
what?
was like, I was right. Look, I'm right. Look at this crazy shit happening. And yeah, they have like laser fingers. I don't know.
So Rachel,
It's very weird.
does Clive ever come back, or do they actually kill Clive?
No, he
Ugh.
doesn't come back. I know. I liked Clive too. I wish he was like more prevalent.
That's pretty dark. That they
It
killed
is.
Clive.
He's dead.
Yeah, sorry to hear about your little friend Clive. Yeah, he's dead.
But that's like kind of a thing, you know, like you were saying. It's
There is
very
some dark-
like Clive was saying. There's death that follows the Doctor.
And I think that's also a more British thing, where even if this is for families and it is for families to watch on Saturday nights, there's some darkness there too. The mannequins begin attacking them all, while Rose is trying to get into the TARDIS, but it's locked, so she can't get into it to flee or to do something or try to see if there's a weapon in the TARDIS. Suddenly, then, decent direction here on this episode. All of the camera angles become very horror movie-esque as the mannequins attack.
All hell's breaking loose.
It looks pretty good.
Children mannequins, adult mannequins.
Terrifying.
Oh, it's nuts.
Terrifying, these little children mannequins.
I think children mannequins would creep me the fuck out. Like, that would scare me more, I
just
think.
imagine, yeah. Like, I'd be like, all right, like, is this that point where you'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna succumb to my fate here. The hell with this.
I can't deal with this. Nope, I'm done. I'm out.
It is incredibly silly looking, though, too, at the same time.
Oh, it's very silly. It's very scary and very, very silly. I think it's the wedding mannequins that start going after Rose's mom.
Yes, Rose's mom ends up having some bride mannequins go after her. Rose is looking down, thinking this whole time, and she runs over to a wall and starts saying something. And I couldn't tell if it was the sound mix or the accent, that I could not tell what she said. So I had to rewind and put the captions on so I could tell what she said. And I think this is where you get your explanation, Rachel, for why she is excited to do this stuff. Because she says she's got no A levels, she's got no job, she's got no future, but she does have a bronze medal from the junior gymnastics team.
That's right.
I don't know how this move helps her with that, but I think it does establish her character.
I think it's like, look, I could do something. Right?
Which is
I could
that
swing on a rope.
yeah, she swings on this big like metal pipe or metal chain, and she kicks the mannequins away from the doctor, and the anti-plastic falls in and starts blowing up the consciousness because it's like poison or whatever the hell it is. And because this happens, all the mannequins fall over, unsure of what to do, because now they've like lost.
I think that's part of it. Yeah. I think the consciousness that's inside of all the plastic is dying too, I think is the idea.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Because if it is like that hive mind
type
of thing.
It must be like happening gradually, because like some of them are just like on the ground like doing the robot.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
yes,
they don't like
dead
all
bugs. Like,
they don't all like lose.
Yeah, they don't all just like immediately get frozen and fall over. It's
Right.
like it's like happening gradually.
Again, incredibly silly or cheeky, as it were.
It's cheeky.
very
That is
cheeky.
that would be the good word for it.
they leave in the TARDIS as the place blows up. So her and Mickey and the Doctor are all in the TARDIS. They exit the TARDIS, and Rose calls her mom asking if she's safe. I love this little bit because the mom just keeps going on, so she just hangs up on her once she realizes
she just
that
takes
she's fine.
because she's like, okay, she's alive, she's fine, moving on. It is pretty great.
So, Rachel, I have a question about this, too. So the mannequins attack this mall.
Mm-hmm.
Do people acknowledge, then, that something like this happened? Or is
Yes.
there... Okay. So in this...
I think this is like this weird thing that happened. Yes.
Okay.
But it's not like, oh, that just, it might actually turn into like this weird crazy ass thing happened, but like nothing happens afterwards. So they're just like, okay, continue
so
life.
That's my
Like-
question. Do they think that there's like something aliens attack? Like they acknowledge that the
They are
mannequins attacked.
acknowledging it.
Okay.
Yes. There, like I said, there's overarching stuff happening.
Okay. Because I did want to know,
So,
like...
it comes back.
Okay. All right. Fair. Because I was going to do a bit of, like...
Again, I don't want to,
Of, like,
say
how did,
too
like...
much.
Oh, yeah, every time something like this happens, I come back and I flashy thing them. Like, what else could have been, done to kind of stop this?
Yeah, there's no flashy thing. Just kind of like goes, yep, all right, let them live with that. Keep going.
Everywhere I go, I like to fuck up the place, then bit out. And then bugger off.
Yep.
That does seem to be kind of his MO, at least through the first couple.
Oh, absolutely.
She tells the Doctor, "You'd be dead if it wasn't for me," and he says, "Yes, I would, thank you." And he offers her to come with to the next adventure. Her boyfriend cannot come because he's telling her that, don't listen to him. He's an alien. He's a thing. He's not a person. She
Right.
thinks about it for a minute and she goes, "Is it always dangerous?" And excitedly, the Doctor goes, "Yeah, because he's fucking nuts." and Bugs Bunny.
Right.
The boyfriend grabs her around the waist and says that she can't leave. And he's like, "Well, I gotta look after her. I gotta look after my mom. And he says, "Okay, I'll see you around," and closes the door. And it takes
Right.
off. She looks unsure of herself. And then before they can leave, because they're going to like go back to her house or whatever, or they're just going to go home, the whooshing of the TARDIS comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens the door and he says, "Did I mention it also travels through time?"
By the way, did I mention it also travels in time?
Thanks.
Thanks for what?
Exactly.
Two things. This.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
So she is intrigued. And I think, you might correct me on this, Rachel, I think
Go
she
ahead,
breaks
go
up with the
ahead.
boyfriend.
It's fine.
Because the first time I watched it, I was like, what the hell just happened? Why did she do this? And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh, maybe she broke up with the boyfriend. Because she tells the boyfriend, she kisses him, and she goes, "Thanks." And he goes, "Thanks for what?" And she goes, "Exactly." Which I think is like because you weren't man enough to stand up to the fucking mannequins or help stop them. So, like, she wants more adventure than what Mickey is going to be able to give her. So she because what she does is
I do think it's that part at least, that like, thanks for everything. And he goes like, "For what?" And she goes, "Well, I want to go on an adventure." So
Yeah.
exactly.
She runs into the TARDIS to begin the adventure. So the other thought I had was, because he said, like, okay, I get it, you don't want to leave your loved ones, but it goes through space, so you don't have to. I'll just bring you right back here. So she's like,
time
"Oh, well,
and space.
in that case, why not?" So that's why she runs in there. So it might be a little column A, column B type thing, but I think
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And it comes back again. Okay, look, that something does come back, and he
Sure.
actually asks, "Why is it that when I said it was like an actual time machine, then you came?"
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, of course, if it's an actual time
So,
machine, then I
yeah.
can't lose any.
It's like, but we can do anything then,
Yeah,
right? And
I
we
can't
can come
lose
back at any
time.
time.
As we learned again from Interstellar, losing time is very precious.
Time is
And-
precious.
I would love a scene, and don't tell me if this happens, Rachel, where they come
Okay.
back and accidentally went around a black hole, and then there's 23 years of messages for Rose to watch, and we get Billie Piper crying at a as her life flashes before her eyes.
You figured it out.
Okay, excellent. We tied up this whole volume in a nice little bow with the time travel, the people losing their minds, the wormhole stuff. It all makes sense at the end of the day. I don't know how 12 Angry Men fit in with all of that, but it all made sense.
Angry men, they're losing their mind.
See next week when we do... See next... That's true. Actually, yeah, you're right. You're right. Mental breakdowns and time travel. That's what this volume was about.
That is what this is about.
Next week, I'm going to be making the exact same jokes, but I'm going to be making them about the Doctor getting stuck in hell because the TARDIS went through the wrong teleportation portal. So look forward to that.
Woo! Oh,
and for those of you that are listening to Shelf Life way into the future or selecting specific episodes, if you're going in the catalog order, then it's not next week. It's just your next one in order. That's the end of the episode. It gives a little preview for the next week's episode, which, good God, when I saw the preview for what was about to come.
Crazy stuff.
But
they go back and forth between having, like, the crazy alien space stuff and then, like, crazy alien space stuff in London.
It seems like it, yeah. I understand why they did that, because they wanted to focus on, like, this is new and modern, and they wanted to focus on the Rose character in this one, and then I think the next one is supposed to be, like, but by the way, this is about aliens and like weirdness
and like the future and the past and
all
the present
shit
and all of
sci-fi, and here it is.
Yep.
So that is the end of Rose, the first episode of Series 1 of Doctor Who, written by Russell Davies, directed by Keith Boak. Rachel, any thoughts on Rose, the first episode of Doctor Who?
I think this one's a little silly.
It
was
silly.
my first. It was like my yeah. It's very goofy. It's wacky. It's weird, but for me, it starts it off. So I still kind of I like it in all its weird fashion.
I will say, because again, this is the first time I've watched a Doctor Who episode. This one's a little too silly for my liking, of course.
Oh sure, yeah.
But I do see the appeal of what people get out of it. It's not like I was bored watching it or anything like that, or I was like, I don't know, Rachel, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do more of these. Like, I didn't get any of that out of it. It just was like, all right, this is very silly. And trying to remember things through osmosis of you having the knowledge of it, too.
Right, yeah, of course.
But I do see the appeal. I get why it has the following that it does, for sure. The only thing I would probably mention, too, is I don't also know if, since we've started this show, even if something I might not care for, now I'm doing it almost as a hobby, as part of our creative outlet for ourselves.
Yeah.
So, like, now it's like I'm looking at it differently, and I'm not necessarily looking at it as,
differently.
So it's hard to kind of know, like, okay, if I saw just this episode, and I wasn't doing this for Shelf Life, would I have been like, I'm not going to another one? I don't think that's the case. I don't think I'm there because, like I said,
it kind of intrigues you. It is a bit of like oh boy, like, is this what I'm going to be in for the rest of this?
It's always going to be this silly, yeah.
But it kind of still intrigues you that you're like, I think I might watch the next one anyway.
And it was good enough
see
to
what
like,
happens.
Yeah, it's good enough to be like, all right, I'll stay on the train here and see what Doctor Who's about as we go through it. So yeah, it was fine. It was just it's a little goofy to start off, for sure.
But I think it has to be. It kind of was a way for them to pull people in too, to make it a little silly and kind of pull them in that way.
Yeah, I guess it does kind of merge. Then, like, you kind of get a little like, yes, we're acknowledging that Doctor Who's a little goofy. Yeah,
but we're going to start transitioning a little bit into different writing. Yeah,
definitely. Okay. Yeah, I agree. So that was Rose. We have one in the books, and after a short break, we will continue our journey through time and space. Not the Twilight Zone one, a different one, the Doctor Who one. As we go to the end of the world.
I've got a choice. Stay at home with my mum, my boyfriend, my job, or chuck it all in for danger and monsters and life or death. What do you think?
Doctor Who, Saturday at 7 on BBC One.
And we're back with another episode of Doctor Who. This time we are talking about the end of the world, and this time it looks like it'll actually happen. Written by Russell Davies and directed by Euros Lyn. It debuted on April 2nd, 2005. Rachel, what happens in the end of the world?
The Doctor and Rose take a trip into the future, which is actually the death date of Earth they go to, which is the end of the world. So that's where they go, and there's like a little viewing party happening for it, you know?
A little party, yeah.
A little party happening to watch the Earth explode or end or blow, I don't know, something.
It's the year 5 billion. They're waiting for the world to explode in the year 5 billion. Yes, so this episode is the second one. We can probably just get right into it, but I think, I can't remember if we were saying this offline or not, or if we were recording when we said this, Rachel, but I think the objective here was to show the more alien side of Doctor Who, the time travel aspects, all of that kind of stuff. Because like now you've got viewers now being able to say, hey, we're back, we're a little more modern, we're a little more, hip. But now it's like, but the show is supposed to be futuristic. Like you were kind of saying, I mean, there's Gleep Glops, trademark, we hate movies, all over this place. There's a ton of different alien species, and they're goofy, but they're no different or goofier than a Star Wars, a Star Trek,
right?
Marvel, any of that shit anyway. So, but they're definitely goofy, that is for sure. So let's get right into it with the end of the world. So we pick right up where we left off, and Rose says, or the Doctor asks Rose, do you want to go backward in time or do you want to go forward?
Where do you want to go?
Yeah. And she says, well, let's go forward. So he rotates this rollerblade wheel on this panel.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff on this, I feel like, is just for show for the Doctor, too. Like,
oh, you think so?
Probably.
You think he's just, like, messing with her by being like, I'm going to spin this rollerblade wheel and we'll move forward in time. So he does it, and the TARDIS shakes, and they go 100 years into the future. She's like, oh, really? It's like 100 years? And he's like, yeah, let's go even further. So then he does it again, and he's like, we're 1,000 years or something into the future. We're so many years in the future. We're at the new Roman Empire.
Yes.
And she goes, you think that you're so impressive, aren't you?
Now they're kind of, it's kind of like a silly, but it also feels a little flirtatious, I think, the way that they're doing this.
Not happy about that. But no, I actually don't know. I actually don't.
But it's also just very like, like, look at me,
because
and
of the
then
way I think that's just Rose Tyler's attitude.
The mannerisms of both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
Because
just
she does a thing at the very end of the episode that could be like a flirtatious face too. But again, I think it's just kind of how she is portrayed as a character, or how she's portraying
the way she holds herself.
Character. I think it's probably just how Billie Piper is, and it just kind of translates into this character. So he spins it forward a ton, because he's like, I think I know where to take you. And he takes her all the way, and we see the wormhole, and or whatever you call it, the transdimensional vortex.
Space-time vortex.
Say that right? Whatever.
Space-time vortex.
Transdimensional vortex would have been better.
That's also kind of like, I like that too. We can talk about that. I think that's in something else, but yeah.
All right, hang on. Let's Google that, because what did I just take that from? Dimensional vortex. Kim Possible? Pan-dimensional vortex is from Kim
that's
Possible.
Kim Possible. Yeah, I remember that.
And transdimensional vortex is from something called Night Cafe. The Shrine of Orcs transdimensional vortex. We got sucked into a Vex transdimensional vortex. Maybe it's just actually a term.
It's a term?
Yeah. Bambi meets the transdimensional vortex. Mr. Krabs travels through the transdimensional vortex. So maybe it's just a term. Whatever. I don't know.
Oh, let's see. It's so transdimensional, relating to a dimension other than those of the normal three-dimensional world. Applicable to multiple dimensionalities, having components or subspaces of different dimensions.
So when Cooper went through the Tesseract, that was a transdimensional vortex. So this could be kind of a transdimensional vortex.
Yeah.
But because it's just like space, then
I think because it is moving in multiple dimensions of space and time, it would be counted as a multi-dimensional vortex.
Yeah, so I wasn't that far off. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. So anyway,
Look at us doing science again.
yeah. So everyone enjoyed
Everybody's so
that.
excited.
So he finally takes them out of the TARDIS, or at least he kind of says, like, okay, where are we? And he says, we're 5 billion years into the future. We're in the year 5 billion.
Right.
Which he explains why they're so far into the future. Because he's like, yeah, the Earth is going to blow up. This is the day that the Earth blows up. Meaning, this is the day that the sun expands into a red giant and engulfs the planet. Or,
Right.
destroys the planet.
Right.
They
Makes
are
it
in
uninhabitable, pretty much. Yeah.
They exit the TARDIS, and she kind of comes outside, and she's in what looks like a very nice hotel, which turns out to be an observation tower, and they're going to observe the end of the world. So she looks out of this giant mirror, and the Doctor gives us one of the lessons of the Doctor, which is kind of like,
You lot. You spend all your time thinking about dying. Like you're gonna get killed by eggs or beef or global warming or asteroids. But you never take time to imagine the impossible. That maybe you survive.
all these different ways you could die. You never imagine the impossible. Maybe you survive.
Right.
But this is the time when the Earth has to die because of the fact that the sun is going to take care of it.
Humans can survive, is his point.
Yes, humans are able to survive, which is great. It's great to have an optimistic attitude, and I hope that is what we end up getting to have, is good humans surviving to
Space
reach the
exploration
cosmos.
and reach other beings in the universe, and yes.
One of the things that I've neglected to mention or to think about, I don't know why this ties into that it made me reminded me of this, the optimism of the Doctor in that sentence.
Yes.
This debuted in 2005, and as we've kind of gone along our journey so far, Rachel, we've hit these critical points, if not in pop culture, in our love of pop culture, and they happen in the same years, and I don't know what it means.
Okay.
And maybe it has something to do with the Doctor's whole thing about time and space. Because we've hit 1990, and that's The Simpsons and Seinfeld. We've talked about 1978 and all of the movies that came out in that time period already, and we've done a couple of them. And then we have 2005, where at the same time that this is happening on British television, The Office is debuting in American television.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's like every so often there's this linchpin of time where something is needed in pop culture, or something is needed for us in the world to just kind of have a new piece of art to teach us something, to give us our state of the world, or just kind of give us some entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's just weird that they kind of come in these pairings or groups at the same time. Like
it does seem that way. No, I agree. I do see that as like something that continuously happens over and over again.
Down to the fact that 2019 was the end for me for Marvel, and Game of Thrones and like a couple of other things ended then too.
Right, and they're all ending around the same time too.
The only thing that started was The Boys. So I don't know if that's like the the signal of like the next
I don't think it happened yet. I don't think it's happened yet.
That's my question. Is like, have we got the next one?
I don't think we have.
Outside of The Boys, because for me, The Boys is like the only.
I feel like The Boys kind of parallels. I don't feel like that's just happening at the same time as the others ending. I don't think it's like a start of something new.
And have we been pushed back because of the pandemic and the strikes? That
could be.
Is this going to be a time now where we're going to get something?
Something's going to pop up.
Culturally significant now.
It's a very exciting thought.
I don't know.
I like it. I hope so.
So there's my optimism for the pop
I need
culture
something
verse.
new.
Yeah, there's my optimism for our art, is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a lot of optimism next year, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to be a human.
It does also happen with video games and stuff too, because we haven't really like done that quite as much yet.
You have new systems, but they've been pretty lackluster as far as stuff outside of Spider-Man. And
you think so?
The PlayStation and the new Xbox outside
You
of
think like
Spider-Man.
you're talking about like the new systems, but I mean like
Yeah.
the video games in general.
I'm talking about like what they're doing on those video games. I think that they've been
So like Baldur's Gate has been a large one that's like been hitting a lot of people.
Well, you've got Elder Ring and Hogwarts and the Spider-Man games, and I don't know what else.
that
Like,
this year.
yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of other games that have been like coming out.
I guess it's become so niche that you don't hear that. Like, and I don't play them, so it's
God
kind
of
hard
War
to...
is a big one. Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, there's a lot of different things coming out that have been significant, but I don't know. I feel like it happens in a lot of different factors. So I'm just kind of curious now, like how it all blends.
I mean, I would go to movies if you're gonna think about like something like that, which could be why the Marvel world needs to reset or something like that too. But anyway, where were we? Okay, we see the outside, and you see like what this observation deck is supposed to be, and there's CGI ships that are like kind of coming toward it.
Mm-hmm.
There are aliens on board to watch the death of the planet, and as the Doctor describes them, he describes them as the good and the great, meaning the rich. So this whole thing is like
great, not like great individuals, but like
So this whole thing is supposed to be like an observation. Like I feel like this is like entertainment for them to watch the planet blow up.
Sure,
I think that's what we're supposed to understand.
Exactly. It's also like a significant event in life, you know. So it's kind of like I want to observe something significant happening in life at that moment.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, I guess that's kind of what they say too. I would say if you have the ability to kind of like be intergalactic or whatever, this is probably happening constantly, or at least on a decent rate. But I guess this is a planet where beings existed, so it's kind of like watching.
It's a big moment.
It's like watching a stadium implode. Like you're gonna go watch.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like that's the modern equivalent. You don't have to be rich to watch the stadium implode. You just like, yeah, we're going to watch the stadium burn down. There should have been like some slack-jawed yokels watching this.
Oh,
thing
that would have
blow
been
up.
great.
Like it should have been like, here's the.
There's one
observation
next
deck.
door. This is the really fancy deck, and then there's like.
Yeah, there should have been like some gleep glops like hanging out on like the hood of a car.
Yes.
with binoculars.
With like spacesuits on. Yes.
Yeah, like drinking a beer or something like that. That would have been hilarious. But I don't think that was in the budget.
They probably would do something like that now. That would be great. Like, since with all the money that they have, oh, it would be great.
Rose says that the timing doesn't make any sense, because how can we be in the year 5 billion when, like, a red giant would have happened before that, which is true, and then she's like, and the continents are all where she expects the continents to be, which I think is probably just because they couldn't find a new digital Earth with the continents slightly different. Like, come on, guys, you could have just drawn something and thrown it in there. But he explains that they preserved the planet by making gravity satellites, which kept the sun back from expanding, and it kept put the continents back to like the modern day continents, because it's almost like a museum, I guess, at this point.
I think so. I think that's
all
the
the beings have left because it's 5 billion years. We're not even human anymore at that point.
That's
but it's
exactly
been 5
what he says
billion
too.
Years.
Yes.
So none of them are there anymore, and it's like, well, the money's dried up, so they're just kind of gonna blow it up and like make a spectacle out of it.
Right. Just let it
As
happen now, instead of trying to keep it at bay.
As he's explaining this, a Blue Man Group member walks up to them and asks or tells them like, "Yo, you can't be in here. Who are you?" And the Doctor says that he's the Doctor, and this is his invitation, and this is his +1, Rose Tyler.
Right.
So
and he does show a piece of paper that's blank, by the way.
Yeah, I'm guessing this comes back, because I was like, God damn it. This is the stupidest thing. It's a slightly psychic paper.
That's right.
Which is a blank paper, but he explains it that if whatever he tells them it's supposed to be, that's what they'll believe it is.
That's what they'll see, yes.
Yeah, whatever. So, I like a lot of stuff
scienccy
with weird
things.
shit in it.
Let it happen.
Yes, I'm allowing it. I said I like a lot of goofy, stupid shit too. Just acknowledging that it's kind of goofy. Why are they starting this now, though? Because, Like,
I don't know.
The blue
That-
man
that
is like,
is-
oh,
yeah.
good. Now that you two are here, we're gonna introduce all of like these.
I think he's thinking, okay, I think every must be here then. That must have been like the full list
okay.
is here. I think
Alright.
that's what he's thinking.
Okay, because it's very.
They might have been planning to
unclear.
do this anyways, and that's why he was walking into this room and was like, what the hell? There's
Okay.
just extra people? What's going on? Like, why are you in here
Yeah.
already?
odd and slightly unclear. But
Sure.
your explanation, I will buy. I will allow it. Hey, Senator.
I try to explain
I'll allow it.
everything, so...
He introduces the honored guests, and Jesus Christ, we get a bunch of these gleep glops. Rachel, I'm going to allow you to give us the list of the aliens that come in, and you can describe them, tell me if they're recurring, whatever. I'll just listen.
So we have the Forest
give
of
my 2
Keem,
cents.
I think is how you say it. The Forest of Keem.
Which are these living trees.
Right. They're tree people. Jabe,
Tree
Loot, and
people.
Kafa, which I think is like the princess.
They're tree people, but they're not.
They look
you
like
know,
hops
oh,
plants,
Where
honestly.
are these orcs that you
Oh yeah, they're
speak
not
of?
Ents. Oh no, by any means they are not Ents. They are literally like humanoid trees
I wonder if
with
the
like
Ents
hop
are.
heads.
Yeah, they have kind of cone heads. I wonder if the Ents are ascendants, our
Oh, maybe.
ancestors.
Oh, that could be very interesting. Yeah, maybe they were the maybe Ents were original, and then they became like the more
Yes,
humanoid, smaller.
we
versions.
bred with the hobbits, and then we became these whatever these things are called.
I like how they bred with the hobbits. They're like, yeah, get the smallest ones because we're massive, so then they can kind of like even it out eventually.
It's like how Hagrid was formed. It was a giant and a dwarf.
Was he a dwarf? I thought he was just a human.
I thought it was a giant and a dwarf.
It might
You
have
want to
been.
look that up real quick? I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
That's so weird. That would be so interesting.
I think it was because he says something about like, you know, my father was a little guy and that.
Well, because he was already huge, because he's half giant. Wouldn't put it past him though.
Is Hagrid half human, half giant? Yes, he's half giant wizard. His father was Mr. Hagrid, a human wizard. Okay, so it was.
But it doesn't really.
A
Yeah, it
dwarf.
doesn't specify if he was a dwarf or if he was just like a normal.
He just says that
size.
his father was a tiny little wizard.
I mean, he
So-
could have been tiny. Well, yeah, you're right. So he might have been. I kind of like the canon of that, where he was like a little, like he was a dwarf, and he could really truly pick him up and put him on the shelf. I remember that line that he says, like he was able to pick him
Yeah,
up.
that's
and
what
put
I'm
him on
saying.
the
Like, I
shelf when he
feel
got
like,
mad.
yeah.
So maybe he was. You know, I like that canon. I'll keep it. That's fine.
So anyway, continue with these people before I start
So we
doing
have the trees
the
come in.
ends again.
And then we have the solicitors Julko and Julko.
Oh God.
The mocks of Balhoun. These don't come back. The ones that I'm trying to like explain. Like
Uh-huh.
this is
what
this
do they,
is
what does that one look like?
E.T. mixed with the aliens from
Oh,
Mars
the
Attacks.
little blue thing. Yeah, that thing
Like, that's-
was. It's like bad cosplay of the genie from Aladdin.
I think I still think it's like the Mars Attacks head, right? With the big
Yeah.
brain. And
Yeah.
then mixed with the body of E.T., which is like just massive
fat
fat,
man.
like
Yeah.
rolls, but he's small. Like he's small. And he's on top of like a chair that's moving for him. So he must have issues
Yeah, he's
walking
on his
because he
Charles
doesn't really have
Xavier
legs.
chair.
He has feet but no legs.
Oh, okay. I did not
think.
notice that he has feet.
I
with no
don't
legs.
really know. I can't tell. He's sitting.
Spoiler
so-
alert! It doesn't matter because he's dead by the end of this episode.
Yeah, it's true.
Are
And
you
then
gonna
we
draft
have.
any of these in the fantasy draft, Rachel?
Ooh, that'll be interesting. Maybe the tree people. That could be come in handy.
Tree people.
Depends on what we get.
Do the tree people come back?
No.
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 Oh, I am shocked.
I
thought
don't
the
think
tree
so.
people were
They
gonna be like,
maybe in the newer stuff, but I don't think they've come back. Unless
Okay.
they're just in the background in something. That's also a possibility.
I'm actually surprised about that. I thought that the tree people would have been like a main factor. Anyway, sorry.
Right.
Continue.
I know it feels like it, doesn't it? Sometimes they
Yeah.
do that. They do that a lot. Financial Family 7 is what comes next. The repeated mime, is that what it is?
Meme.
I'm sorry,
The
the repeated
meme.
meme.
Which I guess is that a
think they're-
joke?
I'm wondering if it's a joke. I think I wondered that if it was a joke before, and I think it is. I think it's
Is
a
it a
repeated
joke
meme.
because because they're like it cloaked, so like they're a meme, like a Doctor Who meme or something like that.
Potentially, yeah. Adherent of the repeated meme.
Rachel just rolled her eyes, folks.
I mean, they kind of like play a part in this episode, so it's fine.
Okay. Something about the brothers or the DJ or something like that.
Brothers Hop Pylene? Yeah, yep. Not that one. So no, Kale Spark Plugs. That's a
Kale
no.
Spark Plugs.
That's
I watched
So
a
the
show
ones-
with a man named Kale Spark Plugs.
Well, they just start coming in very quickly. So you have ones that kind of look lizardish, and then you have ones that kind of have these weird, like, giant hoods on.
Yeah.
That's Kale Sparkplug. And then Mr. and Mrs. Paku that look like birds. You have the ambassadors from the City of Blinding Lights that I don't know how to describe that one. Trolls? Trolls?
I mean, this is enough of just having you try to figure out what these flip flops are.
But then we have the trees actually come up and say hi to the doctor. So we get a little reprieve from having just to see all these aliens come in.
Yes. So, okay, yes, you're right. We should explain. So we have the living trees come up. The lady one
Yes.
wants to fuck the doctor. And
Well,
she gives...
I mean... He does a very intimate gift for her, so...
Yeah, she gives a gift of a twig that was
It's
her
a
grandfather.
cutting! It's a cutting. It's like a little sapling.
Yeah.
Don't say it's like a twig. Here's my twig.
Rose calls it a twig.
I mean, it is, but that's rude. All right? It's rude.
But the doctor, of course, because he did not plan to be here today, which I do have a question if the doctor sleeps, but I guess regeneration is kind of that. So he gives her the air from his lungs and breathes in his face.
Yes.
Like a fucking psycho.
But I mean, he's an alien,
But-
so it could just be an actual gift. Like, look, I have air in my lungs. Let me give this to you. Like,
Yeah, well, for a tree, that would make sense. Apparently, it's a thing. It's the equivalent of sending her a dick pic for this tree person because she's like, whoa, she has the vapors all of a sudden, and she's like, how intimate.
right.
Which is also...
Which, I mean, yeah, she's breathing it in, you know?
Yeah, it's also cute for like, all right, dude, I just met you. Like,
He's very
step
flirty.
back. Yeah.
He is very flirty, though. The new doctor, very flirty.
Well, because he also says something about like, well, there's more than where that came from or something.
This
like
is
that.
true. This is very true.
So he knows what he's doing.
So our next alien comes in a big
Oh, is
glass
this-
container.
Is this the face of Bo?
This is the face of Bo.
Yeah,
Do
essentially
you have,
looks
do you have
like.
a comment?
Well, I'm just saying I can bring my nerdiness into the
Go ahead.
conversation because it looks like the supreme intelligence of the Kree Empire
does.
from Marvel.
It really does. You're not wrong. Yes, it's a giant face in a bowl.
Yeah, and looks kind of like the Kree too.
Yeah, he
And
does kind
then-
of look Kree-ish. He does come back.
He does come back. Okay,
He does come back.
okay. And then the meme gives them a round ball that
You forgot about
may
the
or
balloon.
may not.
The balloon guy. Does he come? Is he with the memes? He's not with the memes. The blue guy.
Balloon guy.
The blue guy. The blue guy. The little ET
Oh, the
blue
blue guy.
man.
The little blue man.
Oh, he gives his saliva. He spits at the doctor. That's
the
right.
the genie, the baboon man or whatever he is. Yeah, he
Yes,
spits on
so-
him. Yeah,
I mean, it's the same kind of gift that the doctor gives, where the doctor breathes on him and he spits on everybody. So
that's true. Yeah, he has a Dune salutation.
Yeah.
You'll get that one day.
yeah.
Yeah. But then the meme comes up and gives them a ball as a gift,
Right.
which may or may not contain an Infinity Stone. I don't know.
In good faith. Like scary ass like voice gives it to him.
Yeah,
and
there are
everything.
these Charles Dickens Ghost of Christmas Futures, like a bunch of them that are there.
Yes.
So I guess they're representing the bank, right? Because they're from the Financial Family 7 or something like that.
Fair. There you go. The bank is here. Okay.
And then finally, Rachel, their special guest.
Oh, I'm sorry. The final guest. I thought you were going to continue. Lady Cassandra, the final human. I don't know if they call it the last human or the last human.
The last human, I think.
The last human, Lady Cassandra, which she had some work done, you know. She's just skin. She's literally just
flap.
skin pulled taut on like these wire bars.
Yes. Lady Cassandra O'Brien Delta 17.
Yes.
She's thin and dainty, but she is just a skin flap. And we get it, Davies! We get it! Because clearly this is like a commentary of like, of like
it
plastic
is.
surgery.
You're right, it is.
Like
she
this
is the
character
last
though,
human.
because she's like, I'm so fabulous, and
yes, exactly.
I just had some more work done, and she needs to be moisturized. She is the last human that was born on Earth, even.
Right.
So she's from thousands of years before. She's kept herself alive through all of these procedures and stuff like that too.
You can see her brain is actually in a bowl at the bottom of this thing too.
Whoa!
So.
Oh, is that right? I did not realize that. Okay.
Yeah. She comes back.
Does she? I was gonna ask you because she's. Spoiler alert. She blows up at the end of this, and I wrote down in a note. I was like, I'm a little upset that she died. Because I think that she could have been a good recurring villain as the last human, like that.
Yeah, I'll spoiler alert on you on this one. She does come back.
Okay, I think that's a good concept of like having the last human for something like a Doctor Who, where she has contempt for humanity at the same time.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she says that her father was a Texan, and her mother was from the Arctic desert.
Which, I mean, we don't know. That could be something now. Yeah.
Billions of years into the future? Yeah, of course. We're worried that the Arctic desert's coming now, so why wouldn't it that?
Yep.
And her parents were the last beings to be buried on Earth before the rest of humanity left the planet. And she brings gifts from Earth, including the last ostrich egg. She says that the ostrich was rumored to have blown fire.
Yes.
So it's
the history of Earth might have gotten a little funky.
Yeah, after a billion
And I don't
years,
think she's
you would
very
think
bright.
So.
I don't think she's a very clever individual either.
She's a trust fund baby. She's just like
right.
She's not, yeah.
Because she also brings the last an iPod.
I legit laughed. I got a laugh out of the iPod joke. So they wheel in this giant jukebox, and she says, "This was called an iPod."
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
And they start playing some music using the
Isn't
the
it
jukebox.
Tutti Frutti? Don't they
no,
play like...
it's Tainted Love.
Oh, Tainted Love. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
I did not like the
Dun,
shot
dun.
of the doctor dancing to it. I could have done without that. He's just so fucking goofy.
Yeah, he's a little goofy. He's a little goofy. But he's just enjoying himself because he's being a part of history. And that's what he likes to do.
Yes,
he ran away with a box, and he's just enjoying life.
I bring gifts from Earth itself, the last remaining ostrich egg. Legend says it had a wingspan of 50 feet and blew fire from its nostrils. Or was that my third husband? Oh, no. Oh, don't laugh. I'll get laughter lines. Mercy. And here, another rarity. According to the archives, this was called an iPod. It stores classical music from humanity's greatest composers. Play on!
So, okay, that was a question I was going to have. Is he a rebellious... Is he a rebellious...
Said something. Oops.
Well, no, because I wondered, is he supposed to be like a rebellious Time Lord?
Yes.
Where... So, like, the Watchers, to bring it into my Marvel world, my domain, the Watchers are supposed to, like, not interfere with anything that goes on. They just are, like, observers. They document everything that goes on for historical purposes, and they make observations. They understand so that they can understand and predict the future and all this kind of stuff. And then there's the one Watcher who is supposed to be in charge of Earth, and he's kind of a rebel, and he's like looks at them like, but these humans, they're really trying, and he like roots for them, so then he does stuff he's not supposed to. Is Doctor Who okay? Rachel's nodding her head, so I'm like, is
Go ahead. No,
Doctor Who
ask your question. Ask your question.
So
I mean,
is
yeah.
he kind of the equivalent where like the Time Lords are supposed to like not interfere, and the Doctor's like, but I want to explore. We have all this stuff I want to explore, and I want to understand the universe, and then so that he just kind of left with the TARDIS to do this. You don't have to say all of it. Just kind of like
no, yeah, that is what he is. He's a rebellious Time Lord. It's what I said is right. He's a madman with a box. He ran away, and he stole a TARDIS.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then this is where he's at, and he's exploring and all of that kind of thing. And he does interfere when he's not technically supposed to, and but he still kind of believes in true events in time that he can't touch, too.
Okay.
But I think he wants to experience all of that as well. Interesting.
Okay, and that explains why he goes on these adventures then too, and tries to find out all he can. So it's 30 minutes until the end of until the death of the planet, and Rose is a bit overwhelmed with all these aliens and like everything that's going on. The fact that they're playing Tainted Love and calling it like classical music from the greatest composers of Earth. She kind of steps back and steps out. As the Doctor tries to like follow her to try to just make sure that she's okay, the tree, who I think his name is Jabe, takes a picture of the Doctor using a metal contraption. I think she even calls it she calls it like a metal machine or something like that.
Sure. It's like a scanner or something. Like a little
it's a tablet. It's a tablet.
Yeah, it's her tablet. You're right.
It's a tablet before we even had tablets. The steward takes a gift from the meme because the blue man is the steward, and he's like, oh no, I'm just the steward, I'm not supposed to like take gifts, and they like insist upon it, so he like takes one of the orbs.
Right.
The tree is trying to figure out who the Doctor is because she thinks he's hot, and she's trying to find his Tinder profile or whatever. So she's trying to find his Instagram so that she can like get
slide
some
into those DMs. You got to.
And
so it's like identifying his race is what it's really doing.
And it struggles to do this, and then eventually it gives her an answer, and she's like shocked and can't quite believe it when like it spits out what he is.
Right. It doesn't show us though, right? It does.
Not yet.
She just says like, "Oh, it's impossible." And
yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. The steward goes back to his office to oversee the event, and the ball, the little orb that the meme gave, spits out a little spider, like a little electronic
like a technical spider. Yeah.
Yeah. Rose is trying to be alone in an observation room when a plumber comes by, or an AVOX, and she
a worker comes in. Yeah.
She asks her where she's from, and like, oh, am I allowed to be in here? And the worker goes, the plumber goes, I'm not supposed to talk without getting permission. So
I mean, she asked a question. Like, I feel like that gives you permission, right? Like,
yeah, but you got there's an oligarchy going on here, so like,
fine. The poor blue people.
You know how those fucking rich people are.
Yeah, you're right.
The plumber is doing work in the grates, which is not plumbing, but whatever. And the spider guys. So we get a little bit of backstory. Like, it's again, Rose is just like trying to comprehend all of this because the alien is like, well, where are you from? And Rose is like, I'm not sure anymore. I think she is mourning the Earth in that way. It's like, it's been 5 billion years,
I think that might be what's
Rose.
happening.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
but
like,
I think
where
she's
you're
starting. It's
she didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I think it's the whole idea of it is catching up with her though. Like, everything in the past is the past, and now she's at the finality of it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit larger and scary.
Yeah. She just want to be in there while the lady's working, and Rose is like, okay, I'll just go find another room, because she wants to be by herself. She wants to watch it explode without all of these aliens, I think, because I think she thinks that the aliens are going to be kind of like disrespectful. So I think she kind of thinks like she wants to watch it in peace. Right. And the plumber, as she goes through the grates, which again is not plumbing, decides as she's going in there, a bunch of the spiders. There's like 3 or 4 of these things. Look like a Men in Black tool again. It's like these little CGI cripply crawlies. Crickly crawlies?
Creepy crawlies?
Creepy crawlies. Thank you, Rachel. I thought they were gonna shoot her. Because
Yeah, they
these,
do seem like they're gonna
lasers
shoot.
on them.
Right, yeah. And she thinks they're another species, and she's like, what are you doing in here?
Oh, like, I can get you back to the room if you're like... Well, because I guess you wouldn't know. There's so many different aliens. Like, how are you supposed to know what is and what's not?
Right.
They don't shoot her, though. They just drag her into the grate, and now we know that the spiders are nefarious.
Yes. And that the memes are giving them out.
Mm-hmm. So the memes
sounds
are
weird,
doing
too.
something. Yeah, I mean, I know that them calling them memes has to be a joke of some kind. I'm just not quite privy to it. So folks at home, let me know why they're called the memes. If that's like a Doctor Who inside thing or something like that.
Yeah, like an old
or
thing.
If they just...
I would imagine some old aliens of the past do show up as well. Like, maybe some of these are from old episodes, like that crazy blue guy, or like the trees. Like, they could be from older episodes. We just don't know because we haven't really seen them all. So it could be callbacks.
Definitely. The steward sets his orb down in his office, and he's speaking to something on his desk. I wasn't quite sure what he was talking to, but he's speaking with something that's on his desk.
I guess it could be like an Alexa, maybe?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
It could be a computer? I don't know.
Yeah, it could just be an AI. I don't know. So he gets an alert that the TARDIS is parked illegally within the observation tower.
Right.
So he says, well, the owner of the blue box in the private gallery needs to move his teleportation device. And we learn that teleportation devices are not supposed to be on board, which, you know, oh well. They don't really yell at the doctor for that. Rose has found an empty room to enjoy. She talks to the plant for a second. I assume because she thought it might talk back to her.
Potentially. I guess because it is like a clipping of another like actual like a Groot type of creature.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah. So it could have like sprouted like and been like, "Hi, I'm a baby." Like
yeah. I am Groot. See, you can connect all of it. It's all the same shit.
It's all the same.
I would have thought that this was a dream or something, too. You know, like, it just, all of this weirdness is happening. Like, it's hard
very
to
surreal.
wrap your mind around it.
Right. And I think that's also why she wants to be alone, because she's just trying to, like, take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot.
The cops or security or whatever it is that's on board is moving the TARDIS, and the doctor
the little
gets,
children blue creatures. Yeah.
Yes. Not as creepy as the mannequins, but still like, all right, these things. The doctor finds Rose, and you can tell he thinks that she would find it fascinating, because he like plops down like, it's exciting, isn't it? Like, how exciting is this?
Right.
She responds that they're just so alien, and he gives a little crack back and says like, good thing I didn't take you to the deep south. Hey, Americans listening to this, get your fucking act together, because
I think he also meant probably the deep south of England, maybe? Or do you think he meant the deep south America?
No, I think he meant like our Hitville deep south, SEC country.
I guess, maybe.
Nothing against our listeners from the south, but just in general, the deep south. Because even the British...
all the deep souths. Every deep south of every deep south, yeah.
The British think that the deep south is holding us back. 20 years ago! Get your act together, deep south. So anyway, he makes a crack about the deep south. She asks where he's from. And he, of course, says that he's from all over. He doesn't want to say.
Right.
And then she's like, well, why do they all speak English then? And he's like, no, they don't really speak English. The TARDIS, Rachel, you're going to have to explain this because I'm probably going to say it wrong. The TARDIS does something to the brainwaves when you go in it, so then it allows you to have the power of Babel.
All right.
And you can have everything translated to you from then on.
Right. Yeah.
And I assume that you're
helping.
also saying it. Okay.
Yeah, it like connects to you because it's you've been in it, so it's like helping you to travel like the doctor does. So like the doctor's doing the same thing. You know, he might not know all of the languages. I assume kind of he does actually know all languages and everything. It's allowing the others who travel with him as companions to also be able to do that without like having issues.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, it's the show's way of just saying, we're making it all English because then everybody on our thing can understand it. We don't have to make up
Which
languages.
I'm perfectly fine. Yeah, there's no need to do all of the translations. It's just kind of like find a way where you can explain that, like, oh yes, you're just hearing English, and or oh yes, we have universal translators or some shit.
Right.
Like whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're actually speaking the language, and you're hearing your language is what it is.
Like I've even always thought of, like, with Game of Thrones, like they're not speaking English, they're speaking the common tongue. But for us, we hear English. That kind of thing. Or even in, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, like it's not. They're probably none of them are speaking English. They're speaking the universal like language,
the universal
and it's just being
language,
translated
the common
for us
tongue
in
again.
English. Yeah,
exactly.
She gets mad at this though, because she's like, "You let something change my brainwaves or like change me without kind of consenting to it." So there is some,
and then she does also yell at him about making fun of the Deep South too. So,
well, she says like because she doesn't want any cracks about Earth at that point. Like I
think so. You're
pro
right.
Earth, so she's like, the Deep South is part of my home, which is it's why I'm defending it here against the Doctor, because it's part of our home too, Rachel.
Right.
It's there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of Deep South, mostly the food. It's
true. It's good food.
I'm just joking, sort of. He gets mad because she's like, she wants to know where he's from, and she insists upon it, and he gets mad about
like
this.
I get to understand where these aliens are from. I understand like what species they are, but you're not telling me anything about you.
Yeah, so like, what
I don't
about
know you. I just came with you here. I don't know you. You're a stranger.
Yeah, you brought me all the way here, and you're not going to tell me a goddamn thing. Which Rose should probably have thought about. And this is where she actually starts to sort of think about this. I almost wonder if this was like we need to say that, like, she's thinking, like, what the hell did I get myself into? Because she does at some point in this episode kind of say, I don't even know this guy. I'm with a stranger in the future in space. Now I don't even know, like, what he is. For all she knows, he's some sort of evil wizard. That now she's like,
exactly, some space pervert. We don't know.
To. Space perverts are the worst kind of perverts. And I cannot wait to use the term space pervert in future episodes of Shelf Life. Thank you for bringing that into our world.
You're welcome.
Beware of space perverts in like the Doctor Who font, or like a little TARDIS thing. Perfect for a t-shirt. So she realizes that she upset him, I think. So she's trying to make him feel a little bit better. So she says, you know, my friend always says, don't argue with the designated driver. And she does a bit about being out of range to make a call. She takes out her mobile and she says, you know, I can't even call me mum or whatever. And he's like, well, I know, I can do a little rejiggering or whatever he says. And he puts a new battery in. He probably should have put a new SIM card in, but in 2005, we didn't know the difference, so whatever. And she's allowed to call her mom. And I think all this does is calm her, because the mom's like, you never phone in the middle of the day. What's wrong with you? And she's like, no, I'm fine. I'm just going to be a little late getting home. Just wanted to call and tell you that. So Rachel, is that what it is? Is it that she's just kind of like calmed by the mom being on the other side?
I think so, because like she's in this weird faraway place and she just needs something that's hers and like home and like family. So I think it does actually help make her feel a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. But then she gets the realization, which, like, look, so she says, like, everyone's going to be dead. She's at 5 billion years in the future. Everybody's dead.
Right.
And the Doctor kind of makes correct, like, oh yeah, you're just like a bundle of joy or whatever. Which, like, I get, but I also get, like, okay, for all the Time Lords out there, if you want to take Rachel and I to the day and time when the Earth blows up, if it's not within my lifetime, if you're going to take me 5 billion years into the future, I'd be like, of course everything I know is dead. Now, I do think, and she kind of says it later on, like, all of that history, all of that art, all of that, like,
that culture,
all that
the
knowledge,
whole
culture,
human culture,
is now gone. And I think the Doctor, I can't remember if it said at all, if it should have been like, well, that's not true. Like, you're not the last human. The humans are all over they've touched every star in the galaxy.
I think he does say that.
She either says it or Cassandra even says it. Like,
somebody says something about that because they leave Earth, they mate and find other species to still like continue on in the galaxies. And I don't know if it's said in this one or if it's said in the next one or later, but
no, I think it is said sometime in this one. I think Cassandra might say it, but my point there being like, it's not like the Earth is gone. It's or the culture is gone.
It's
physically it's gone, but like the culture and the history is still there, you would hope. But I do get her lamenting that and her fearing that everything that they didn't matter, because at the end of the day,
right.
it's just fodder for a bunch of aliens to watch it explode.
Right.
Kind of. Something shakes the room, and the doctor says, that shouldn't have happened. And it fades to black for a second. The steward felt a tremor, and he's worried because he's like, I've done observations on platforms 1 and 9 3/4 or whatever the hell else he says.
Sure.
And
I've done this many times with many planets, like you were saying.
He catches a reading. I love that part of his outfit is like this old-timey football helmet. He's wearing like a football helmet from like the turn of the century.
It is, yeah. It's like something you'd wear under like your knight's like helmet too, like.
Yeah. Yes, it's very chainmail or something. There's a spider on the desk, so he has figured out that there's some sort of like intruder by having the spider on the desk. He tries to communicate with it, and then Rachel, in a moment that I was like, "The fuck's wrong with you? Why didn't you do anything about this?" The spider slowly walks over, presses a button, and instead of stopping the spider from pressing the button, he sits there and goes, like a fucking moron, and gets killed.
Why didn't he just press another button to stop it? It is kind of silly. I mean, he does start pressing buttons, but he's like just pounding on everything as if...
You would think that this guy knows how to... So essentially what happens is that the spider turns off the sun filter, which like there's like shields to prevent the red giant from melting you because it would be too hot to survive. Right. So they turn off the sun filter, and then that bakes the steward alive.
Right. But again, I think the idea is that the components were messed with, so like he turns it off, but he's not able to turn it back on. I think is the idea, but they don't really make it look like he's even trying. He just starts button mashing, and it's like that's my problem with
it. It just looks stupid because it's like, what the fuck what you deserve to die then, Stuart.
Yeah, you're just being
try to stop it.
Right.
Back in the party room, the doctor thinks something is wrong, and he wants to know where the engine room is, and Jade offers to take him. And this is where you get Jade's intentions, because he's like, well, are you going to take your wife or your girlfriend or your prostitute?
Right.
Which I love that, like, it's
concubine.
Like... And your wife?
Well, she's not my wife.
Partner?
No.
Concubine?
Nope.
Prostitute?
Whatever I am, it must be invisible. Do you mind?
And I guess at this point, Rose is trying to kind of like take everything in stride, and she's just like, you know what? You two go pollinate or whatever. I'm going to go catch up with family.
Yep.
Meaning she's going to go talk to Lady Cassandra.
Right.
She says she wants a quick word with Michael Jackson, a reference to all of his plastic surgeries that he got, I believe.
I think that's the joke.
And then she's trying to make a joke because she says, like, I want you back by midnight, you two.
Right.
This is where Jabe tells the doctor. This is where I was confused about how much knowledge he has of things.
Okay.
Rachel, because he is asking Jabe to explain, like, what Platform 1 is, and she's explaining, like, well, there's just the steward, there's no staff and all this stuff. The facility's automatic. The corporation controls the platform from one to another. Nothing can go wrong. It's unsinkable. I thought it was going to almost turn into the Titanic at this point. Like, I thought that we were going to get a Titanic allegory. Like, it was going to somehow, like, be pulled into the gravity of the red giant, and they were going to have to, like, escape.
Yeah.
Which could have been interesting. I'm sure there's probably an episode that does something Titanic-like in the future. There would have to be. There's no way there isn't.
Yes.
So I was going to ask, like, how much does he know versus how much is he discovering? Because if he's like a Time Lord, do they know past, present, future till the end of time? Like the TVA of Marvel, or do they have to kind of figure the stuff out and go back and forward to try to like understand it?
They get the gist because they can look into the space-time vortex and they learn kind of all of everything, all of time, right?
Okay.
But I don't think that they're going to know like specifics is the thing. So he's not going to be like, I know exactly everything about this spaceship. He might know the gist, like, oh hey, these are the creatures that are here, and he's learning and getting to experience it and feel it, but he won't know everything. He won't know everything. Yeah. So he kind of just knows like the overarching timeline, I think, is the idea.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, when you play with characters like this, it always gets tricky, and I'm not going to be an asshole and like try to be pedantic about it, but you know, you're supposed to just kind of have fun and enjoy it. But you know, we're Shelf Life, so I'm still gonna ask to try to be
I mean,
like,
you're
you know,
curious.
do they ever,
it makes sense.
do they ever fit it into the canon or anything like that?
Which part?
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, when we ask those kind of questions, it's like,
oh yeah,
it doesn't stop the enjoyment of it. It's just kind of one of those things where I am curious, but it doesn't.
You're not
matter.
like the first person to ask that. I wouldn't think either.
Sure.
And they do talk about, they do give him more background and like knowing things and how much he knows and all of that kind of stuff comes up all the time.
And if it's fun and entertaining, you don't care. You only care about that stuff if your mind is wandering and you're bored with it. Rose is talking to the last human lady, Cassandra, and she says when she was born, she was a little boy down in the Los Angeles crevasse or something like that. I don't know. But
I don't know. It was weird that like that was her description.
Yeah, I
don't
couldn't
know.
quite, but it's been billions of years, so who knows. Rose asks where the humans went. And this is where you find out that they've touched all of the stars in the galaxy, but they all mingled. And she's the last
and she thinks it's
pure
gross.
human. Yes.
Yeah.
She thinks they're mongrels because there's new humans and there's digi-humans and there's like all these mixes of humans, but she's the last one that is actually pure and like an actual human. She kept herself pure, but she had a 708 operations, and her 9th one is going to be next week. And that's when Rose says like, well, actually I'm the last human. You're just a fucking piece of skin. You're lipstick and skin. She's a silly cow. You're nothing but lipstick and
I mean,
skin,
honestly,
you silly
I'm not
cow.
surprised. I would think Cassandra would call Rose a cow, honestly.
I was waiting for it. I thought she was going to, because she says something about like, well, you don't have to be like afraid to get a surgery because you got a bit of a chin there, and like I was waiting for like a breakdown.
Yeah, she starts like saying things about her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rose stops her immediately. I'm like, no.
Well, Rose says she would rather die than live her life like a bitchy trampoline. The bitchy trampoline line, pretty good.
Beautiful. Beautifully done.
We should mention that the effect of this too is it's this tarp of skin.
Yes.
With this CGI lips and eyes.
Yeah. What's that guy's name in Guardians who has like the pulled face? Like it has that same effect where it's just like skin is like
the high
pulled
evolutionary.
back. Yeah. So it's like that same effect, but instead of being pulled onto a shape, it's literally just pulled into flat.
Yeah, it's just 2-dimensional. Look at how flat I am. Look at how thin I am, I think she says.
Yeah, she does.
So as Rose walks away, she's like, yeah, nice talking to you, Cassandra. Rose storms off, and a bit compulsive if you ask me, but why the tree there? Why the tree there?
Oh, he says,
Why
what's a
the
tree like you doing in a place like this?
Oh, okay. Yes. So we go back to, thank you. I was trying to interpret my notes.
Why the tree there?
So we go back to the doctor and Jabe, and he asks why a tree like her is doing in a place like this, and she comes up with some crap, and he's like, yeah. I think the reality is you don't want you have to kind of be here because your share price will be higher if you can like mingle with these beings and stuff. And she's like, well, that's true, but she also is a descendant from Earth. A lot of things are. Because there was more than just humans on Earth. There were a ton of different living beings. And when the humans took them all across the galaxies, now they're like all over the place. So a lot of people have connections to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that she was actually a descendant of the rainforest. Like her descendants come from Earth. So
that's pretty cool. She got her roots are in the earth, right?
Yeah. So for her, part of it is a little bit of like going to. I gotcha.
I'm sorry.
So her point is that like coming back, she's like paying respect to Earth, kind of. She confronts him now with his past. He's doing something trying to get into like the engine room with the screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
And
He's pretty
she's
much
like,
hacking.
yeah, exactly, hacking with his pen. And she confronts him and kind of says, like, I think that there's, something to this by you being somebody that's only enjoying trouble when nothing else is left. You have nothing else left but to kind of be reckless and find adventure. And maybe it's almost like he has a death wish is what her thought is. If you died on any adventure, you wouldn't really care because you have nothing else to live for. And so she explains that, like, I looked you up. It couldn't admit that you like even existed.
Right.
And the doctor looks troubled
it
this
named
whole time.
It named his species, but it's like
Yeah.
that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And the Dr. Eccleston is doing a troubled look, like he's sad. Very sad look for the doctor.
Yes.
She says that it's remarkable that he even exists, and she is sorry for him, and then he accepts her pity. So we don't yet reveal what it is, but we end up knowing by the end of this kind of what happened, at least.
Yes.
They make it to this Star Warsian engine room. It is this...
Very, like,
Isn't
Galaxy Quest, we have to get through the
Yeah, they're
spinning
trying to get
blades.
to the Omega-13 at the end of this, for sure. But it's also Star Warsian in the fact that like there's no rails anywhere.
Yeah, what
there's
is
this
this?
platform.
Just walk on this platform, you'll be fine.
The memes hit Rose and knock her out, and then put her in a room by herself. Clearly, what we'll end up learning is that Cassandra is behind all this. So, like,
right,
Cassandra was like, "Burn that little bitch," while we're, I just picture her saying,
take care of
that.
her. Right.
Yeah. They disable one of the spiders while they're in the engine room. The Doctor and Jabe do. And they realize that it's got to be sabotage. Well, no shit, Doctor. Like, what did you think was going on? I can't remember what the announcement is. It's like 10 minutes to the end of the world or something like that. And then I realized that we're kind of watching this in real time. Like the way,
I think it kind of
45-minute
is.
episode, it's kind of in real time.
Right.
They are gathered around now because it's almost time, and they put on Toxic by Britney Spears as a traditional ballad to take them out, to take out the world. Like, that's going to be the last song, which would have been very timely because of it being 2005. So the joke would have been like, oh yeah, so the last piece of music from the earth is going to be Toxic by Britney Spears.
I like that song. It's a good song.
It's a fine song. I'm not saying it's not. What would have been the top songs in 2005? Gold Digger by Kanye West. I think they should have put that on instead.
Oh, because, she would have also been a gold digger. You're right. Yeah.
Let's see. Don't Ya by the Pussycat Dolls. Ponde Replay
Oh my
by
god.
Rihanna.
This is great.
Some good ones in here. A lot of Black Eyed Peas. My Humps. My Humps would have been the one to go with.
My humps, though. My humps,
Yeah,
my humps.
My Humps
yeah,
would have been the
lovely
good
lady
one.
lumps. Yeah, that's Earth right there. Her lovely
If
lady
you're gonna
lumps.
go, if you wanted
Check it
something that
out.
was like of the moment, but Toxic is, Toxic would have been of the moment when they were making the show, probably.
Oh, right.
Like
That
all of
makes
these are
sense.
of 2005. They're not of. So like if I do 2004, I think Toxic's from 2003. Yeah, there's not as like not that the British audience would have enjoyed. There's a lot of rap in 2004.
That's true.
Goodies by Sierra would have been
Oh my
fun.
god.
Drop It Like It's Hot.
That would actually be funny
Would have been
considering the
appropriate.
sun is hot.
Yeah. And,
Oh,
and they
that's
don't
great.
and they wouldn't have understood what he was saying. So like,
Right. That's even funnier. Oh, that's true. It's in a language they don't
They don't
understand.
Yeah. So they think it is a ballad
that's so
they don't understand it.
weird. I love it.
So what happens now is the sun filter starts descending in the room Rose is in. So they're like gonna torture her to death, really. She's banging on the door, and the Doctor just happens to kind of walk by, and it like is checking each room to see if like people are in any of these rooms. And he's like, "Oh, of course it's you in here. Like, of course I'm gonna have to try to save you." He uses the screwdriver to stop it, But then the computer overrides it, so he just has to do a bit more work on it to get it to finally. You get one of those countdown, like, oh, she's like on the ground and she's like,
oh yeah,
almost
and the sun's almost
get
like
burnt
be
up.
in it, right?
But the whole room is burnt to a crisp by the end. I liked the design,
The effect of it, yes,
of the room being like all crisped up.
It makes sense. It would happen.
Yeah,
burn the hell
the door...
out of that place.
burn the hell out of it. The door is jammed, so she can't get out. And the spider devices have infiltrated everywhere. The doctor comes into the party room, and the aliens are worried about how this happened, because the doctor's, like, explaining that the spiders are sabotaging the place. Lady Cassandra says that it was Bo, the Kree head, that was the one that clearly did it.
Yeah. She blames Bo, and Bo's just like...
To which the head shakes their head no.
Yeah, he's pretty much just like, oh my god... How dare you blame me? I am the face of Bo.
Whatever that means. Rachel says I will find out one day.
One day.
Doctor says, though, let's just send the pet back to its master. So does this mean he programmed it to go back to whoever it came with? Like, why did he think this was going to work?
I guess. Like, maybe it's just, like, a homing signal, and it's, like, going back to its, like... It's trying to go back to its, like, device or, like... charging station.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give it to you.
Just making things up, look.
Yeah, because it is just kind of, like, convenient. It's very Deus Ex to just kind of be like, if I start this thing, it'll just go to its master. And it's like, why? Like, it doesn't make fucking sense, but whatever.
I guess if it doesn't have anything else to do, right?
Yeah.
Goes home.
It goes to Cassandra first. She gives it a look, and then it walks over to the meme. And the doctor says that the meme is just an idea, and that's all they are. And the thing tries to grab him, and then he...
There you go. There's the reason for it. Memes are just an idea.
I guess. And he grabs... I don't know, whatever. He grabs this thing's like arm. It has like... It's just a stuffed arm. It's very clearly just a stuffed arm. He says they're remote control droids. And he pushes the spider back towards Cassandra, and she has to admit that she was behind all of this.
Right.
Which I guess you could kind of see coming. Because like, the doctor's like, yeah, the memes were too obvious. It needed to be something else. So...
Sure. And she just
says
pissed off. And like...
So she turns the guards toward the doctor, and he's like, what are you going to do, moisturize me? And she's like, yes, with acid! Her point here was going to be to manufacture a hostage situation for money, and the doctor's like, it's 5 billion years into the future and it's still all about money. And she's like, well, these surgeries cost a lot of money and she needs to pay for them. So she's also like, but fine, she can leave everybody here, she can let them all die, because she also has stock in all of their competitors, and the stock prices will go up the second that they find out that all these people are dead, or these gloop-glops are dead. So then
that's true.
She'll make the money that way. And she gets one last insult in by telling the doctor that she's the last human, that little kid that was with him. The tree, Jabe, says that you'll burn with us.
Yeah, because I think she always is like quoting and like saying things from the Earth past, and usually it's like weird. And the Cassandra.
Oh, because she says, yeah, burn, baby, burn.
Yeah, she was like quoting somebody philosophical, and it says burn, baby, burn. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Because then Jabe says, you'll burn with us, which is where I wrote down that Suzanne Collins must have been a fan of Doctor Who. Or is that just a phrase?
Maybe.
She teleports her group out, Cassandra does, and the spiders all blow at the same time, and that brings down the force fields. So now the whole place is going to get hotter, and it's going to be part of the explosion. It's not going to have the force field that it had to repel.
There's no safety net anymore.
The doctor asks Jabe to come with him to restore the fields. They have 2 minutes before this is going to be done.
Right.
So, I wrote down they have to get to the Mango 13 on the other side. There's this big windmill. So I think that the thing is, like, these windmill things are keeping the place cool. I think it's like a big
propeller, like fans.
Mechanism. Yeah.
Okay.
He can turn them off, but he needs to keep it down, and he can't do both at the same time. So Jabe goes to do it, and he's like, but you'll burn up.
You can't. The heat's gonna vent through this place.
I know.
Jabe, you're made of wood.
Then stop wasting time, Time Lord.
So
Yes.
I think, and
that's
he
the
like
first
has
time.
a smile. Yes, and he has a
Yes.
smile on his face because she called him a Time Lord, I think, too. And think that's the first time we learned that he's, a Time Lord. So
Exactly.
she does this, why? Do you have, like,
What do you
a
mean?
thought on why she does this? Like, why she sacrifices herself?
Well, one, I think it's to save everybody, and who else is gonna help? And
Yeah.
I think maybe she likes the thrill of adventure as well. Maybe.
I was wondering if meeting a Time Lord and kind of putting everything into perspective might have made her realize that, like, to be able to, like, kind of be heroic, you don't get the impression or anything that she's, like, greedy or anything, even though she's, like, rich. She almost seemed like somebody that,
a little bit more humble.
yeah, that didn't necessarily care for all of the pop and circumstance about this. So
Right.
I kind of wondered,
So maybe
like,
she
if,
actually did care about just, honoring Earth where she came from.
Yeah. Doctor, though, takes his sweet-ass time trying to get to the end of the hall, which I
He's timing it. You gotta do it right, otherwise you're gonna get sliced by the thing. It's the video game concepts right here. You gotta watch the
Yes.
blades and count, and then all right, now
yeah.
go. Like,
It's very video game
pain.
level. Yeah. Go. Wait. Go. Wait.
Yep.
Go. So the Doctor takes a look back at Jabe and has to concentrate to get past the last fan. The little blue thing, the little blue guy burns up.
Yes.
Because you start getting solar flares start penetrating the place, and
Right.
everyone's freaking out and everyone's trying to hide from the solar flares and stuff. Jabe burns up because she's made of wood, and it gets so
Yes.
hot that she just burns up. And because of this, now the fan is going at full speed because she's not holding it down anymore. And he takes one step. He, like, closes his eyes and concentrates. I, like, pictured the Rose track that you're thinking of, Rachel. That's not what plays, I don't think. But I pictured the...
It does feel like it would be that, yeah.
Yeah. And he's able to walk past it, and he raises the shield just in time. As the planet is engulfed, and we get to see the CGI Earth explode and some sad piano music as the ship repairs itself, and everything is fine. But they did all miss the explosion.
Yes, poor Earth wasn't even
the whole
watched.
reason that they came there.
Died on her own.
The Doctor is sad about Jabe and storms back in. Rose must have been able to get out because she gets back to the party room. So the door must have unjammed or something because she
Probably
comes
like
back to that
opened
room.
once everything turned back on.
The aliens are all lamenting. They're lamenting the death of the Harboon or whatever his name was. The Doctor breaks the news to the other trees that Jabe is dead.
Right.
And he says that he realizes she used teleportation using something, because the only way that you'd be able to use teleportation, because him being a Time Lord would know this, like you would need to, like, be able to have some sort of transmitter or some shit like that.
Right. Something that, like, it feeds from one place to the other. Because you're not allowed to have the teleportation devices on this place, so she must have smuggled one in.
She had to have it somewhere to be able to get out, yeah. And determines that it was the ostrich egg. So he cracks open the ostrich egg, and there's a thing in there. Of course, because it's the Doctor and it's Doctor Who, he just immediately is like, I can reverse this. I feel like, Rachel, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of Doctor Who is very little kiddish of like, oh yeah, well I have super space future force, so I can do this.
Sure.
Like, there's a lot of
yeah,
that.
I could see that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well I have laser lightning number 2, and that stops your force field from working. Like, that feels kind of Doctor Who.
Yeah, the Doctor's arrogance is that way. Yes.
Well, because he's just like, I can reverse this teleport. I can just reverse engineer this, and bloop, 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 and here she comes, kind of.
Yeah. No, the Doctor is an arrogant person. He really is, because he thinks he's the smartest thing in the world. No, that's how he acts. Like, I can do this. I can do this, and I can always reverse this, and I can do that, and I'll fix this, and that's what he does.
I guess I'm thinking more of, like, in the writing, there's a lot of, like, now he has the power to do this because
that's
we
just
need
Superman.
him to. Yeah.
That's how Superman was written, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, now he has laser eyes. Like, Come on.
Superman always had laser eyes.
I'm
Rachel.
just saying, Kevin. Every time something would come up and they're like, well, let's make him be able to do this now. Oh, now he can do this.
Yeah.
Like,
But it is similar in that way. She gets re-teleported back into the ship. She's like, oh, that was just a test to join the human club. I like that little bit there. She tries to save it. The doctor's like, you murdered everyone, Cassandra, or like there people died here, Cassandra, like you trying to do this. And she's like, fine, whatever. You can do whatever you want with me. I'm going to just have my lawyers like wrap you up into this like for centuries. Like you'll never like,
sure.
It never,
You can't do anything
matter.
to me.
But then she starts to crack because she's drying out because it's so hot because of...
And she doesn't have her people there to moisturize her.
Yeah. And she's begging the doctor to stop her, or to stop this. And
Right.
Rose even comes up and says, help her. And he doesn't.
And he doesn't. This is a very
And
dark
she
side of the doctor.
Bursts and, like, blood bursts. I was like, well, that was gnarly for Doctor Who, I thought. Like, this is blood burst of a skin flap.
Yeah, it was a little gross.
There's a CGI blood burst, which I did not expect at all.
Right.
So, yeah, so a darker
it's
side
the dark
of the
side of the
Doctor.
doctor. Letting her...
Is that one of his, like, flaws?
It's a thing.
Almost?
It's a thing. Yeah.
Okay. So he can be unforgiving of...
He's very unforgiving. That is the best word I think you can use. Yes.
Yeah, very interesting. This is where I wrote, I was kind of hoping that she was going to stick around. I liked the idea of the last human being a recurring villain that could pop up.
So I already spoiler alerted earlier, but spoiler alert, she will. You'll get her back.
Yeah, her brain didn't blow up, which I did not realize
That's
was
right.
in the tube or whatever. Rose is looking at the end of the Earth. She's
Which
kind
maybe
of
that's
looking
why
out,
he let her explode. He knew he wasn't killing her. It was just like shutting her up.
Getting rid of that form or something. Yeah. Rose is looking out at the burning wreckage of the Red Giant, all of the debris and stuff. This is where she says they were too busy saving themselves to watch it go, which I think is supposed to be metaphorical. Not just for, I think, the Doctor's planet, which I'll get to, but also Earth itself. The idea of we're too busy worrying about our own little shit to think about the beauty and the culture and
bigger
stuff
things
of Earth.
in life. Yes.
Yeah. He takes her hand and says, like, come with me. And she struggles not to look back at the Earth. So I think he realizes, having been someone that has survived the planet destruction of himself, that he might have taken it. I wondered this. Did he deliberately do this so that she could understand him on his level? Like by showing her the death of her planet? Or does he realize, like, oh, I thought this would be fun for her, but now I'm internalizing it and realizing that I'm making her feel like I feel, because like now she's like woken up to the reality that like her Earth will die one day.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I think it might be the latter, where he kind of accidentally gave her an existential crisis.
Yes,
but it's like, but I do think he thought, oh, this is gonna be like a really exciting thing because like look how big and crazy and look how far we can go with my machine.
Right.
Yeah.
He takes her back to present day London, like a busy street, and she gets to see like all of the people walking around doing their usual lives and everything. And I think she's realizing just how small and like pathetic everything is because of the fact that like now she's seen kind of the end of it all. Mm-hmm. And the Doctor says, you think it'll last forever, but it won't, not even the sky. And this is where he comes clean, and he tells her, like, I'm a Time Lord, my planet's gone, dead, just like your Earth 5 billion years from now. It burned, it's just rocks and dust, but it happened before its time. So she says, well, what happened? And he says, a war, and we lost. So I'm going to make 2 predictions, Rachel. I'm going to predict I'm going to predict that it was a war with the Blowguards.
Okay.
Also known as the Daleks.
The Daleks is what Kevin calls them. Blowdarks. I know what he means when he says it.
Yeah,
so
I
just
I think it was a war with the Daleks.
Okay.
And that's what caused this. And I'm guessing either... Okay, so it's that's what my first guess is. My second guess is a civil war, potential civil war with the Time Lords.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But if it was with the Daleks, and I could see it being that because I bet Davies wanted to pull the Daleks in because that's one of the things people know.
It's a big, a big enemy of the Doctor, yes.
And it would make sense to kind of pull that into this new lore that you're making. So I thought it's a war with the Daleks, or it just kind of gets out of hand, or it's almost like a Cybertron thing with the Transformers world.
The Cyberman? The Cybermen? Is that what you're talking about?
Cybertron from Transformers, their planet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. There's a one called the Cybermen, so I didn't know which ones you might have been talking about.
Something on Doctor Who called the Cybermen?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about Cybertron with Transformers.
Okay.
Where, like, the war between the Autobots and the Decepticons just gets so out of hand that the world kind of blows up.
Okay.
So I wondered if it's something similar where it's like the Time Lords make a device to try to stop the... I think hubris is going to befall the Time Lords in some way, and that they're going to have like some sort of weapon that they're going to try to stop the Daleks with, and that causes the destruction of the Earth. Or of Gallifrey. Whatever the planet's called.
Yes, Gallifrey. That's correct.
Because one thing I was going to ask you was, is this part of the normal Doctor Who lore? But then when I did my research, I was like, oh no, part of this was that they were trying to get rid of the Time Lords and Gallifrey and stuff like that. So, but you can't tell me anything, and folks at home,
I'm not
going to
tell you anything. I won't tell anything. Exciting. I love
Yeah.
it. I love getting to like have you like join me. Join me in the cult of Doctor Who.
I don't know if I'm joining you in that cult. I will do it for the show, of course. I don't know if I'm going to join you in that cult, though.
Nah. But it's fun having you like guess the stories and stuff.
Sure.
Because I did the same thing.
Yeah. He's traveling on his own now because he's the last of the Time Lords. He's the last of his kind.
Mm-hmm.
And Rose says, well, you've got me. And he's like, well, do you want to go home? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. And she thinks about it for a second and she goes, do you smell chips? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, let's get some chips. So they go get some French fries together.
Yes. It's something just normal and, just boring, I think is what she wants to do.
This is where, because I think Billie Piper / Rose Tyler just kind of does this acting with her mouth, she does like the thing where she like licks her tongue, like she bites her tongue. Like the corner of her mouth bites her tongue, which would be like kind of a flirtatious move. But I don't think she means it that way. I think she's just supposed to be like a teeny bopper who like would kind of like be like...
Yeah, I think she just does that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how that episode ends. They go get some chips and they get ready for their next adventure, which according to the preview at the end of my episode of Max, they're going to the past, which will be interesting.
Yes.
Rachel, do you own this one on Blu-ray, this series, or no?
I don't, and I need it.
It's on sale.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I mean, I might have to buy them all then. I don't need the David Tennant ones. Well, I do need the David Tennant ones on Blu-ray because I only have them on DVD. He signed my collection on DVD. But I don't have Blu-rays.
Well, if you've learned anything about shelf life, Rachel, we have to upgrade.
You do have to upgrade.
Upgrade.
I'm not selling mine. That was signed. That's a collector's piece now.
I spent at least $10 upgrading Christmas Vacation. So some of these places I think some of these websites do have, or some of these studios do have deals where if you show them like you have the DVD, they'll be like, "Well, give us $3 and we'll give you the Blu-ray." Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
So that was the end of the world. Rachel, what did you think about this one? Revisiting this one for you.
I think I like this one just because I think it gives Rose the look of like larger than life type of feelings and stuff, that existential dread that everybody feels sometimes when they go, oh my god, space is huge. I'm just like this tiny little speck in it, which is what she ends up feeling in this one. But we get to actually have some more aliens that are actual like aliens, which is fun. So you get like your first taste of everything, right? In the first one, it was just plastic. It wasn't like an alien that we would think of. It was just like melted plastic in a bowl. This one is actual like aliens that you would think of that like seem like futuristic and like in outer space type of stuff, and you get like your first taste of it. So it's really interesting to me. I also like Lady Cassandra and the idea of her being the last human and like representing the last human. I don't know. What were your thoughts with this one?
It's better than the first one, for sure, for me.
Yes.
It's still a silly show, but you see some formations and you can see some narrative being collected that is interesting enough to kind of like, all right, now he's the last of his kind and what happened.
Right, we
and
get
all this stuff.
backstory.
Yeah, so like you're kind of saying, I wasn't connecting to Rose in the first one as much. I connected to her more here. She's a little more fleshed out, and you kind of understand her a little bit better, and that sort of stuff. So yes, I thought this one was better than the first one, and was enjoyable even with all of the goofy aliens
all
and
the
stuff,
goofy,
and
silly
making
things,
me go,
yes.
oh, Christ! But it got some good moments out of me with the jukebox, iPod, and all of those kind of things. So some of it,
you gotta poke fun at Earth a little bit, right? That's
Yeah.
our lives. We gotta poke fun at ourselves.
there were a couple of moments where I thought it could have been trimmed or something different could have happened.
Yes,
stretched.
The weird thing
bit.
with the guy in the blue guy in his office that pissed me off too.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So like overall, not disappointed at all in having said I watched the episode now. So there is that for sure. And
it's exciting.
Yes. The preview for the third episode looks absolutely ridiculous though. And I have a feeling that back in the day, Doctor Who did that a lot because it was like, we got all these costumes. Let's just use them for Doctor Who.
Yes. It does get a little weird because what it's doing is it's going to be like blending in actual like possible past events or things that we know or feel, and then blending it with aliens and otherworldly things. And sometimes it tries to explain weird stuff that in our history that we can't explain too.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is kind of fun.
Expect nothing less as we continue our journey through series 1 of Doctor Who. But for now, Rachel,
yes.
We need to get back to the future. Wait, no, that's not right.
I think it's back to the present.
What does he say? What is there anything that
Fantastic.
he says to get into the TARDIS? Any TARDIS lines?
TARDIS lines?
Yeah, like we need to get to the TARDIS. Well, in any event, we will continue our journey here on Shelf Life through Doctor Who over the next few volumes. We're going to be doing a couple of stories each episode, I think, right? Or
I would think
every time we do one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the next one's not a two-parter. It's the one after that I think.
Yeah, so we'll do 3 episodes. Well, part 2 of Doctor Who will be 3 episodes because it'll be it's a 1-parter and a 2-parter.
Right.
So we're going to do 2 stories per each, yeah. So until then, we will be headed back through the wormhole for another episode of Shelf Life. And until next time, we will see you later. I've been Kevin.
I'm Rachel.
And the music has started, and we'll see you next time.
Where anything could happen.
No.